This is Mac here, joined as always by Steve. He comes today, Chelsea man. And we've got
Evening, Mac.
Yeah, good to see you. It's usually doing cricket. It comes on for a bit of the odd football, so it's all good. But look, we've got loads to talk about. Oh my God, it's all happening today. We've come on at the right time. So talk to us about obviously the unraveling of the European Super League and what your thoughts are about the situation which happened with Chelsea this evening.
It's really funny, Mac. Good evening to you and good evening, everyone. About an hour and a half ago, I was thinking about the game this evening and I knew I was going to come on and talk to you about it. And I was thinking, if we win, we'll go up to third. If we don't win, we stay fifth. What does it matter? I mean, what does it matter if we're going to be in a European competition next season and it's not on merit? Like if you break the link between sporting achievement and glory, then you've broken sport. And I was feeling really down about the game, actually, and I was really feeling like very, very rare that I would be thinking about the game and thinking, I just, it's not that I didn't care, but it was like I don't have that excitement about it like I would normally have before a game. So honestly, I was absolutely delighted to see the news come through that Chelsea had started the moves to pull out of the European Super League. Or the Super League. It wasn't even a European Super League. It was a Super League, which was who knows what that would have meant in the long run. So no, I'm really pleased. I mean, clearly the fans outside Stamford Bridge this evening, kind of social distancing notwithstanding, sent a very, very clear message to the club, I think, and I think the message from the fans and fans of other clubs will roll their eyes, and as we all do when any team or any fans of any team kind of claim some kind of something more than just normal fandom. But I think there was a feeling amongst the fans that we're better than that. And I know and of course we're in the Premier League. There'll be fans of clubs outside the Premier League who go, well, Premier League, it's all the shades of grey when it comes to this stuff, and people will look at the ownership of Chelsea and say, well, you've never had some qualms about some of the things that you've done and been involved in. But if you think about Chelsea and lots of the things it's done in the last little while, lots of really genuinely good stuff in the community, lots of genuinely really, really good stuff about anti-racism and particularly anti-Semitism. Lots of really good stuff to support health workers and things during the pandemic and giving up lots of money and time and resources and things to people. As a club that clearly understood what it meant to be part of a community, or trying to be part of a community. Chelsea pensioners have always been valued and cherished guests at Stamford Bridge. We grew up not far away from that part of London, Mac, as you know, of course, because you grew up there too. And so Chelsea Hospital is obviously not very far away from Stamford Bridge, and the pensioners are always welcome there. And so, I mean, let's not claim these things as uniquely, that the specifics are uniquely Chelsea, but clubs do things in their community. It's a rare football club that doesn't do anything in its community and try to be rooted in the people that live around it and support them. And I just think and I'm sure this is shared by other fans of other clubs too that have signed up for the Super League. We should be better than that. And I think we should be better than that because, as I say, once you break the link between glory and earning it on the pitch. I think Leeds had a big banner last night that said you earn it on the pitch. When you beat that, which is for me the fundamental problem with the Super League, then you break something really fundamental in sport, and it ceases to become sport and it starts to become content, and just content. And I think that was the real big problem for it. So I'm in my late 40s. My son's in his late teens. And in our different ways, we were both really disappointed that Chelsea had signed up for the Super League, and felt a sense of being really let down. Really let down by that decision. And although we were hearing almost from minute one that Chelsea and Manchester City were the last people to sign up, they kind of did it slightly under sufferance because they didn't want to be left out. It's like, well, that's easy to say, but I think over the last hour or so, Chelsea and Manchester City have both followed that up with action and have taken the step. Barcelona have given themselves an out by saying that their socios will have to vote for it. And I think that's probably, I don't know Spanish football as well as other people that come on Sports Fans TV, but I figure that won't be a done deal, that's for sure, particularly if some of the big English clubs are not involved or not signing up as members. Atletico Madrid have pulled out as well, I believe, in the last hour.
Oh, really?
or are looking to pull out. So, you know, I mean, it's beginning, the dominoes are beginning to fall, and you're soon going to be left with, I think, Real Madrid, Juventus, Arsenal, Manchester United are probably going to be the final club standing. Maybe AC Milan as well. Inter, not sure, but you know, there's and I think there's I think it's going to put them under a huge amount of pressure now. You know, do they try to press on with their plan with only 6 founding members?
Well, it's not going to happen.
It's very unlikely to happen. Very
But
unlikely.
one thing which is quite interesting and telling about the whole situation is that the clubs which outside of Spain, the ones in England which are like the last people standing, are American clubs. Now, my understanding of the Super League, right, was that the Americans primarily, their motivation for doing it, as in Man United, as in Arsenal, these type of teams, the reason why they wanted to do it so desperately, because they don't understand relegation. In the NBA, there's no relegation. You have the teams, you have the franchise, and that's it. Same in NFL. There's no relegation. If you're a bad team, you just lose, and that's the end of it. You get the first round draft pick and stuff like that. I talked a bit about it yesterday, but we don't have that kind of college system here where, you know, you get the best players going to the worst teams, and so it kind of equals out. Don't have any of that stuff going on. But they don't understand relegation, and that's why they wanted to stick with it. Obviously, the Spanish teams, we know their situation well documented. Real Madrid is in ridiculous amount of debt. Barcelona is in debt as well, but they've got more money than Real Madrid, because obviously Real Madrid literally have overspent for many a decade. So under these circumstances, how could, I mean, look, it's only Tuesday, Wednesday, and no, Tuesday, isn't it? So,
Tuesday,
it's Tuesday. I'm losing my days. It's Tuesday. We heard about this only a couple of days ago, day ago, and you know, so it was on Sunday night, wasn't it? And then Monday it kind of went to full fruition. But it's been so let's say 72 hours. That's what I'm trying to figure out the amount of time, and we've gone from all this kind of bullish talk from the clubs involved, the 12 clubs, to now it collapsing within 72 hours. I mean, how did this thing even stand up to? If it can't even stand up to a bit of scrutiny, obviously you know, it's just not going to work, is it? It's never going to work, in fact, is it?
No. Well, I think what they were probably assuming and banking on is the fact that the fans of the clubs that would be in that select group would value the security of that of being in that competition over the glory of earning your place there. So I was thinking again about some of the games I've been to that mean the most to me, that I've got the best memories of, and one of them was Chelsea beating Leeds to secure promotion back to the top flight in the early 90s. John Bomstead scoring in front of the sheds, everybody going mad, great atmosphere after the game, just a wonderful day. And then actually Chelsea's first game back in the top flight, which I believe was away at Wimbledon, and being there and seeing Chelsea scored in that game, and 3/4 of the ground went up, like we were away at Wimbledon, and it was just like it was such a special moment to be back. I mean, at that point in the early 90s, Chelsea were the same sort of size as you know, they were a big club compared to the football pyramid, but not a big club compared to, you know, Liverpool, Manchester United, and so on. So there was no guarantee of glory in those days. But those are the games. You know, I remember those games very, very well. And I was also thinking about this year, and you know, my son said it to me as well. It's only on Sunday morning when we were really reveling in the week. So we professionally seen off Porto to get into the Champions League semi-final against Real Madrid. We earned that last season. We earned that by getting into the top 4, doing all that hard work and getting the results to get into the top 4. Just got in, then we worked through the group. We got there, and we earned it. We earned that semi-final. We haven't played Real Madrid in any competition since 1998. So there's a real rarity about that game. It's a really special game, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it again. I wasn't, but 5 o'clock this evening I wasn't, but you know, but now I'm really looking forward to it. And you know, and the same as Manchester City and that high of that really, really good performance at the weekend, and you know, looking like we're really getting somewhere as a team, and then just to kind of be like, yeah, but what's it going to mean if we just qualify for that competition every year? What's it going to mean when we don't have to earn that? When actually what you could do is what happens in American sport, and like, if you like, the downside of the closed league and the draft system is that teams will tank a season. Teams will tank a season in order to get a better draft pick. And then you build in perverse incentives into the whole thing. It ceases, there's even less integrity to it. Then I was thinking, what was going to happen? What's going to happen is that the 12 teams that are always in it, are they going to start to run 2 squads or 1.5 squads, where they've got people that they have in the Premier League? Because it doesn't really matter if they, as long as they're not in danger of relegation, their season's fine. And the best players only play in European competition. And then how does that work? Do you have 2 managers? Do you all of this stuff over time? You can see all sorts happening. The games as well. Given that this was being driven, I mean, the reason I think this was announced at the time it was announced, which is late on a Sunday night in Europe, was obviously it's not late on a Sunday night in Asia and in North America, right? So it was to told you everything about the kind of prioritization and where this was being driven from. And I think, let's be clear. If fans of Chelsea in China, India, Japan, Morocco, Greenland, it doesn't matter, right? As far as I'm concerned, people will pick a team and support a team, and everybody's got their own reason, their own path, and none of it's wrong, and it's all right, and they're all welcome to be Chelsea fans or Arsenal fans or Liverpool fans or whatever they want to be. But the clubs themselves have to remain rooted in the communities and in where they are, because there has to be a sense of place about them. And I think one of the problems I foresaw with the Super League is that the games would suddenly start being in Yokohama or in Dubai, and suddenly then you start to move the games around, and there's a round and everyone all plays in the Middle East one round, and then it suddenly and then it does really become content. It does become much more like the NFL. And so on. Again, those guys, let's not be fair to them. The people that perform in it, they're sportsmen, they're athletes, they work hard, they are committed. I'm sure they play their games with integrity and so on, and the individual players can't be held accountable for the system they play in. But it wouldn't work for European football. It would not work for European football. And I think it's
I mean, look, my thoughts on it are this about the situation. First of all, if you've joined us, thank you. It's been, and leave your comments on what you think about all this madness as well. That'll be great. But look, the situation at the moment is that, if you've only just switched on, Chelsea supporters outside the club were remonstrating. Not just 1 or 2, not 5 or 10. We're talking hundreds of people. Enough supporters to block the entrance to Chelsea Football Club. Team coach came along. They couldn't get in the club. That's how bad it was. Petr Cech, legendary goalkeeper for Chelsea, obviously played for Arsenal as well, had to come out. We know he's obviously integral to the kind of setup, backroom stuff. Came out remonstrating with the crowd. Please let the bus through. People weren't listening, obviously, but people were giving, obviously, their thoughts on the matter, and they weren't allowing the team bus to come through. And so, because of this, remember, this all has repercussions. The game's been delayed by 15 minutes, and in all of this madness, and obviously Chelsea don't want this every single game, Chelsea have got their lawyers to start drafting an intention to pull out of the European Super League. The European Super League has only been talked about, like brought out in the open to the public on Sunday night late. And on Monday, it was obviously a big talk about it. It's Tuesday today, Tuesday evening. And it's madness.
There's some breaking news, Mac, as well, that you might be interested in just as you're speaking. Ed Woodward has resigned as Man United chairman.
No.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's all happening. Mm-hmm. That is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think there's not a lot, there's quite a few, I'm pretty sure, Manchester United fans would be quite happy about that, to be fair. Mm-hmm. He has been a source of controversy for so long. It's, his position, obviously, clearly under the circumstances, has become untenable. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with what do you call it, with Arsenal as well, because
Mhm.
I do wonder if there'll be lots of heads rolling because of it. Ed Woodward obviously jumped on it without a shadow of a doubt, but I think as well on his side, he probably thought he didn't want to be part of it as well. He probably thought it's not worth going through the situation. So yeah, thank you for that. So yeah, look, there's it's madness. Man City have decided to pull out. We've talked about Man City didn't need to do this. They're the richest club in the world. They don't need this. They don't need the money. They're top of the league. They were always going to get everything they needed. They don't need the European Super League.
The signs were there this afternoon. I think Pep Guardiola gave a press conference, and like everybody at the moment was asked what he thought, and he was, he spoke obviously, in a fairly diplomatic way, but I think he made his view quite clear this afternoon that he wasn't in support of the Super League. So, and again, I think this is one of the things that was really disappointing for me about the clubs, and Chelsea included, up to this evening. Thomas Tuchel had to do a press conference yesterday, is kind of as required by league rules before this game this evening, and of course he was asked questions about that. Well, what could he say? What could Thomas Tuchel say? I mean, obviously it would have just been sprung on him the night before, like everybody else, because it was kept very, very tight before it was announced. What's he going to say? Oh, it's a terrible idea. I mean, his employers have just signed him up to something he doesn't know much about. So I thought it was I thought it was hard for the managers. Klopp was in a similar position yesterday. Though Klopp actually was fairly strong in what he said, I thought, for given Liverpool's position as quite central to this exercise. But I think, again, what was noticeable for me was there have been no quotes really or anything from any Chelsea hierarchy. Marina Granovskaya hasn't said anything. Bruce Buck hasn't said anything. Petr Cech certainly didn't say anything. Roman didn't put out a press release, not that he does very often. But again, Sheikh Mansour didn't say anything from Manchester City. None of the hierarchy at Manchester City, is it Begiristan and those guys didn't come out and say anything. And if you note the press release, really every club used the same press release on Sunday night. So you had the very unusual situation of Manchester City's website putting up a press release with a quote from a Manchester United official in it.
Right.
And I think that was, let's not we've too much out of this, but I thought that was quite telling that actually there were some clubs that were really not really prepared to put the names to some of the hyperbole statements that were being made on Sunday night, and I think it's no surprise then that Chelsea and Manchester City have been the first English clubs to pull back. I wouldn't be surprised if Tottenham follow suit as well. I mean, again, and I don't say this to dunk on Spurs fans, and I genuinely don't. But the idea of a European Super League with one of the teams that's always qualifying every year hasn't won the league championship for 60 years. I mean, it was clearly not about sporting merit in that sense. It was clearly about financial positioning and brand size. And there's no denying Tottenham are a big international brand and have got a big following around the world and so on. So I don't say that to dunk on Spurs fans. I'm feeling very magnanimous this evening because of what's happened with Chelsea tonight. But I do think it's I do think it was a sign that the whole thing wasn't really about, look, we're the teams that always qualify, so we should always qualify. Actually, there are teams in Arsenal, again, for the last few years, haven't really quite troubled the Champions League particularly, and so that to be in that group, it really was all just about the balance sheet and not about the team sheet.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. So let's look at the teams in the European Super League, right? So we've got obviously Manchester United. This is the fallout, by the way, for anybody watching. Thank you for watching. This is the fallout. So we've got Manchester United. Manchester United, we've just been told, have decided that he's maybe decided. We don't know. That,
I think he's resigned. He's
resigned. Okay, so we don't know if he's been pushed or we don't know the situation. Right, let's bring it up actually. So this is the teams. So let's go from the top. So Barcelona, they're still in it, but as you said, they have a decision to make with their supporters. Tottenham, like I said, more than likely to pull out. They haven't won anything forever. They've just sacked Jose Mourinho a few days before. They brought in the youngest ever Premier League manager on an interim basis, 29 years old. He's going to take them into the League Cup final, Ryan Mason. Liverpool, an American team, because they're owned by all Americans, including LeBron, who plays basketball. If you ask LeBron to ask him 5 Premier League teams, he wouldn't be able to name 2. I'm pretty sure about that. Manchester United, another American team. Real Madrid, lots of debt. So these are the teams. These 3 teams are the teams which are more likely to fight to the bitter end, even though they know that it's a losing battle. Manchester City, richest club in the world, they are pulling out, and they've made that clear, and they didn't need it. Atletico Madrid pulling out. They don't need it either. Chelsea pulling out. We're just talking about Chelsea. Protest. Petr Cech coming out, remonstrating, trying to get the team bussing. The game, the reason we're not talking about the game is because the game doesn't start till 8:15. Who else is there? We've got Arsenal. Let's go to the other side. Arsenal, American team. They'll probably be fighting to the end as well, but because they don't understand relegation. Juventus, more than likely to pull out with all the backlash. AC Milan, going to pull out. Who's this team here? I don't even know who that is.
Inter Milan, Inter.
Milan,
that's Inter Milan's new badge,
Yeah, so Inter Milan, again, with the Italians getting involved, it's going to be hard to keep this up.
I think the thing to note about AC Milan in particular is they're also American owned now. They're owned by an American financier who took them over as a repayment of a debt to the previous Chinese owners of AC Milan. So they're owned by a quite a. I can't remember the guy's name, but he's one of these. He's actually quite an interesting, if you like, character. The guy that owns AC Milan, he actually bought when Argentina went into default. He bought a load of government bonds at a very low price.
Right.
And then ended up demanding the money off the Argentinian government, and he actually impounded an Argentinian naval warship to help to reclaim his debt of Argentina. He's done it a few times. He did it to Peru as well, where he made a sort of supernormal profits off the back of this sort of distress. It's called a vulture fund, and so he's a very, very rich man, and he got AC Milan as a result of investments. So he's got them. So I'm sure he will have had a view. I mean, he's only been there a little while, so I'm sure he wasn't one of the instigators, but I think he would have had a view, and he probably would see the pounds and pence in this and think it was quite important. Inter Milan as well. Inter Milan owners, Suning, I think they're called, have recently had to sell their Chinese Super League team because they're in financial difficulty. So so I think Inter Milan are also struggling a little for money, and Juventus, of course, Agnelli has been one of the main drivers of it. So I don't know quite where the Italian clubs will go from here. Actually, maybe they will try to carry on with the 3 of them, with Manchester United, Liverpool, Real Madrid, and maybe Arsenal, and they'll maybe keep it as a tighter group and say, well, we'll continue to play in this. But maybe then they get expelled from the Champions League, and everybody else carries on as they were. And
I can't see it, and I think that they'll have to pull out. I think JP Morgan will have to rethink it, but there'll have to be a massive conversation with them in UEFA. All of these teams with their own respective leagues, and ultimately with JP Morgan, who was going to back them. The thing as well, which was telling, which we talked about the other day, yesterday, was there's no French or German teams. The PSG have been quite robust that they were never going to join it. They weren't actually invited, which is really weird. But they've been quite robust that they were never going to join anywhere, and they hate the idea. And the German teams, they can't join really because 49%. That's the rule, and I wish the rule was here. I know the government, I think about it, where only 49% of a team in Germany can be owned commercially. 51% is always owned by the fans, and that's how it really should be. And that would obviously have stopped any of this nonsense, because there's too many greedy owners out there doing nonsense. So look, this is a situation.
So I'm reading as well. Miguel Delaney of The Independent is reporting that Agnelli is resigning from Juventus as well. And I'm reporting there's huge pressure on Florentino Perez at Real Madrid.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's no way that any of the people involved and the backlash it's caused are going to stay for whatever reason, whether it's that they've been pushed out because they've put the team in an embarrassing position, the club in an embarrassing position, and they should have taken a different stance there, or they feel they don't want to be associated with this thing. Ed Woodward's been there for a long time. I'm sure he'll find something else, and all the other people is going to resign. I'm interested to see what happens at Arsenal, because I'm Arsenal, as you can see here. But look, this is what Chelsea is like. We Stoke aren't even in the Premiership. We want our cold nights in Stoke. Anyone watching, by the way, thank you for watching. Let us know your thoughts on this craziness. Let us know your thoughts on this madness. It's every single day. Yesterday we did something, and here we are today talking about the same thing. And it's just everything's unraveling. We've gone from a European Super League, and everyone robust about it, and UEFA kicking off, FIFA kicking off, the Prime Minister kicking off, to now having a situation where everybody's resigning, everybody's walking away from it. So let's see what happens with those teams. And this right here is supporter and fan power, because as you can see from that picture, they blocked the way from the Chelsea. Chelsea are just getting ready to step out at the moment. But from literally this little thing, this shows that football is for the fans. This is what it's about. And Chelsea have done it, and Chelsea will always be remembered for starting the kind of avalanche and the kind of falling apart part of the European Super League, right?
Well, it's taken 2 hours to fall apart, eh? I mean, that's the incredible thing.
A few hundred people. But you're right. You're right. I'd say you're right. That it doesn't matter if you focus on the Chinese. It doesn't matter if you focus on the Middle East. It doesn't matter if you focus on the Indians. It doesn't matter if you focus on Africa. So my father's from Africa, and I go to Africa. Chelsea are there. You can't get away from Chelsea because of the Didier Drogba and other people that have played for Chelsea who are Africans and obviously still play for them now. So Africa's a huge market there as well, South Africa and all the rest of it. But the bottom line is the locals. The people on your doorstep, the people whose family have been following your team for generations, they're the people which built the club. They're the people who started the club, and they're the people who have to be taken in consideration. They weren't, and that's why this kind of stuff has happened, right?
Yeah, absolutely. My dad used to go when he was a boy with his mate Jeff. And back in, I think he once climbed over the wall and got caught by Tommy Docherty and got kicked out personally. And then he took me to a game at the Bridge in 1978. It was the first time I went when I was
Wow.
very small. So I mean that's. But you're right. I mean, and that's not unique. There are plenty of families and people who've had generations of fans and what have you. So yeah, I think it is interesting. I think it's the demonstration outside the Bridges was probably the most visceral sign of it. But the club are not daft, and they will have seen the absolute, people setting their face against, not wanting to be party to an unearned sporting success, because an unearned sporting success involves no glory. Involves no glory, and I think that's the. And I think that was what probably caught them out and surprised them. I think it possibly surprised the Chelsea hierarchy and Manchester City hierarchy less than it may have surprised some of the others, which is why they were a bit nervy about signing up in the first place. So we hear. I mean, again, and of course the club would do this. I saw a journalist who's quite well connected with Jason Burt tweeting earlier on this evening that Roman Abramovich had reservations about it all along and kind of signed up against his best is kind of first thoughts. But of course, maybe that's easy for the club to PR at this point about that. But nonetheless, it's great. I'm really, really pleased, and as I say, it restored my excitement about the game this evening, which is probably about to kick off, I would imagine.
It's about to kick off. So look, let's talk. The game's about to kick off in a minute. Let's talk about the team news. So let's go through your team. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, well, obviously a bit of a surprise to see Kepa back in goal, but to be fair to Kepa, he's had a very, very good season in the FA Cup. He was the reason we're still in the cup.
Sorry, before you carry on, they're just showing Petr Cech. Petr Cech is in the director's box. He looks very stressed, but he did his best. And you've got your Bruce Buck. Is it Bruce Buck? He's there.
Yeah.
So, and thank you to him and stuff. So, carry on anyway.
Yeah. So Kepa played very well in the FA Cup, and his performance against Barnsley, when we really didn't play very well, was probably the reason why we were able to get to the cup final. So obviously that's a bit of a surprise, but hopefully he will who will do the business. Zuma, Christensen, and Rudiger is a back three. Christensen's played very well. They've all played very well in the last few weeks, actually. And it's probably useful that Azpilicueta's got a rest this evening because he's played a lot, and obviously he's into his 30s, and it's good that he can get a rest, and it's a good game to do it. James and Alonso at wing back. So Alonso in for Chilwell. I suspect, looking at the rather hefty Brighton lineup, this might be one of those ones where we need a bit of height to help deal with set pieces. Chilwell's also played, I think, 4 games running. So again, that's a lot of football in a short space of time. So like Alonso will be itching to come in. Interestingly, the midfield pair is Jorginho and Mason Mount. So obviously Mount usually plays a little further forward. But I think it's quite interesting pairing him with Jorginho. I wouldn't be surprised if for England in the European Championships that Mount is paired with Declan Rice in a fairly similar formation. So I think it'll be really interesting all round to see how Mount gets on in that role this evening. And up front, Ziyech played really, really well against Manchester City at the weekend, and has started to look like the player we thought we were signing. Pulisic has started to come back. He's clearly seemingly got over his injuries, and now he's starting to trust his acceleration. He was fantastic against Porto. I mean, he got kicked from pillar to post against Porto, and he just kept coming. He was fouled 11 times against Porto. And then Kai Havertz, who again has started to show what he can do, started to show that he can play, and you know is moving into some good form. So all in all, a pretty attacking lineup, I have to say. Jorginho and Mount central midfield is pretty attacking. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we do. Brighton 3-4-3 as well. You know, with White, Duncan, Webster at the back, but then Byrne and Veltman as their wing backs. That's a lot of height. That's a lot of muscle in their team.
Always had tall people there, though. To be fair,
yeah.
A tall team.
Yeah, McAllister and Trossard either side of Welbeck. I think Trossard is a very good player. He's, you know, forced his way into the Belgium setup and so on. Welbeck, of course, has kind of had one of those sliding doors careers, hasn't he?
Yeah,
was good at Manchester United, but not quite good enough. Was good but injured at Arsenal, but not quite good enough. Did okay at Watford. Now he's at Brighton, and again he's doing okay. You could see Welbeck scoring 2 great goals in a game easily. You could also see him having a fairly anonymous performance. So let's see how he gets on against Chelsea's back three. McAllister, I don't know as much about, but I think he's been in and out of the side quite a bit this season. But I think, you know, really the best 2 players for Brighton, Bissouma and Gross in centre midfield, are pretty well balanced, and I think Bissouma is definitely set for a move to a bigger club, if not this summer, then at some point. I think he's a really excellent player. So yeah, Chelsea going quite attacking. But you know, if we can add a little bit more attacking thrusts to what's been, generally speaking, West Brom aside, very, very sound defensive performances, then you know, this is a pretty interesting lineup, and one I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays. Have we kicked off yet, Mac?
Yeah, kicked off about 3 minutes ago. So it's it started. So at the moment, Brighton trying to do the high press. It's 0-0, as you see, 4 minutes in. So the high press is there, and yeah, it should be interesting. Thank you for your breakdown of the lineups and stuff, and we'll see. And one thing I'd say about it is that we've got to obviously be mindful about next week. I appreciate it's, like I said, attacking, but I think Kepa's to just and some of these other people who don't usually play because you're thinking you've got one eye on the Champions League. This Brighton are, with all due respect, you know, a team bottom half. They've struggled all season. They've done well in the last couple of games, but overall they're not a team which should trouble Chelsea that much. And I think you'd be happy to win and get back up into the top 4. And I think you've got the strength and depth to do it. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. So, someone said 1-0 Brighton to win. Okay. And on what basis is that? From what I've seen so far, they're high pressing. Obviously, Chelsea are playing out from the back. Brighton do expand the ball. They're very good at keeping the ball on the deck. They've got lots of tall players. They may score from a set place. I don't dispute that they may score, but Chelsea are definitely going to score. And remember who they've got on the bench. They've got obviously quite a few people on the bench. They've got Giroud, I know that. Who else got on the bench?
Hudson-Odoi's on the bench. Timo Werner, Kante, Billy Gilmore.
All
I think Yeah, we're playing well. We know we're putting the manager's game plan into place. He's a smart manager who can read games very well. We're in the cup final, having beaten Manchester City, and we're in the Champions League semi-final. And hopefully the players will be buoyed by the things that happened this evening. Apparently the players told Bruce Buck today that they were very unhappy with their potential international careers being put at risk. And I think that was also a factor. So hopefully the players will be feeling buoyed. They should be feeling confident, and hopefully we can do the business. But am I coming back at halftime, Matt, to give you a
So thank you so much, Steve. Well, I'll let you go and I'll just carry on. We'll see you a bit later, Steve.
I'll come back at halftime and
we'll have a chat. See you in a minute. Right, so let's get into this. So look, the game has started. It's 6 minutes in, sorry. And we at the moment, it's all in the Chelsea half. Conspiracy theory. What's this? The league was set to fail and pressure you have to give more money. Of course, I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. If this league's confirmed, there would have been ads everywhere and have been poorly managed. Look is going to be sick. Right, so let's have a few of these questions. So the game is still 0-0, and it's all been played at Chelsea's half at the moment. Now, I think they didn't think Brighton would do the high press, but they are doing the high press, simple as that. As far as this whole situation, conspiracy theory, look, coconut water, I personally agree with you. I think that always the way things are, that UEFA, they can throw stones, but they've got a glass house. The issues they've had with dealing with countries, dealing with racism, and dealing with just unsavory situations in general has been poor. And yet suddenly they're all vocal, guys standing up, the president of UEFA, and saying, "Oh, we know you have chance to come back to us." But the day before, he was saying, "Oh, you're done." So he was flip-flopped. He hasn't stayed strong. UEFA are not the greatest federation to be starting to talking about corruption and money. They've taken their lion's shares of the Champions League money, and that's why I believe that these clubs have got this together. Now, I think, like he said, why is it so weird way to announce it? Weird way to kind of announce the clubs. Weird way to do it without getting the French, the Germans, the Portuguese involved. It's very bizarre. Well, how's that? How would it even work? How can Bayern Munich not be in a European Super League? That doesn't make sense. They're the current champions of the Champions League, and yet you're trying to tell me they can't be in the European Super League. It's not going to happen. August. Listen, we've got the Euros coming up. What, you're going to do it straight after that? Midweek? What about all those countries' domestic cups? It's so poorly thought out. It's like it's written on the back of a cigarette paper or someone's lunchbox. I don't know. So look, I think that it was leverage for some of the clubs. It's leverage to get more money, and they've been doing it for years. UEFA have always slowly given them some more money, but if they're giving them not enough money and the clubs are doing it, then they should be getting more money. So that's what I think about that. So yes, I agree with the conspiracy theory. I don't think all of the clubs thought that way, but I do believe that there were 100%, some of them did. I think the Americans, just as I've said, me and Steve said, they just didn't understand relegation because it's not in the NBA or the NFL or any of the American sports. If you're rubbish, then fair enough. This is the way it goes. You get the next round, first round draft pick, and they don't do that in the UK or in Europe or anywhere. So that's what I think about that. Right. So what's the next one? Can't wait for the Super League. It's not going to happen. We know that now. It's disintegrated within 72 hours. What next? Lord Bettner. Oh, we love Lord Bettner. He was a commentator. I remember seeing him in the League Cup final when we lost to to Birmingham. We lost to Birmingham, and he was poor. He had his moments when he was young, and then he just got too full of himself, and that was that really. And then he went off to be a Lord of the Manor somewhere else. Thierry Henry's obviously a legend. He's got a statue outside for a reason, and he's still our man. So yeah, I mean, him, Dennis Bergkamp, You know, they'll always be, in the modern game, he'll always be fondly remembered, and they were great, amazing for us. Tony Adams, captain, fantastic, the best captain for Arsenal ever. So there you go. Anyway, right, let's go to the next one. The only good point Florentino makes into is that UEFA need to be more transparent with what they earn. This will start because of their corruption. 100%. FIFA is steeped in corruption. Sepp Blatter was all about the brown envelopes. To keep him going and keep him re-elected, he kept on giving brown envelopes to every single country. And he kept on giving the FIFA World Cup to every country that was about as random as it gets. You know, I've got no problem with it being in Brazil. And I've got no problem with being in South Africa, but not giving it to, for example, England, but giving it to Qatar. It's just beyond me. So FIFA's steeped in corruption. Yes, Infantino's in there now, but he was around in all these times. Arsene Wenger, we know, is a straight down the arrow type of guy. Look, it's all about lunches and all the rest of it. There'll be none of that nonsense going on. UEFA, I've just talked about. UEFA are steeped in issues as well. You know, who was there? Platini, was it? How much corruption was he involved? He was in cahoots with Sepp Blatter. So UEFA have got plenty of corruption there as well. So my point, UEFA need to get their house in order. So stop doing their nonsense. Right. Right, who's next? Right, so the game is pretty even, by the way, at the moment. You know, we're 12 minutes in, it's knocking back and forth. Do I think fans should own part of the club? Yes, we talked about this to prevent likes. I believe the German model is brilliant, and I wish it was like that in the UK. But because of Premier League as well, it's just as bad. Right? You got to remember, the Premier League is a breakaway league. They talk about, they're breaking away. Well, hold on a sec. Before the Premier League, 1992, what was there? There was the English League. It was running totally fine, but they wanted more money in the house. They wanted to have their deals with all the TV channels. Obviously, Sky came in and all the rest of it. And that's what it came down to. I mean, people like me, older, 40 plus, you know, we remember TV being on BBC and all the kind of basic terrestrial channels. Then it went to Sky, and there's all the money, and then obviously the money came and the players came in. So look, Premier League can't talk about anything about breakaway. Will Chelsea have a little go here? Oh no, it's overhit and gone into the rafters. So they got nothing to say about that. So I believe the Chelsea model is brilliant because 49% is owned commercially. That's the maximum you can have, which is brilliant. 51% owned by the fans. Aren't the fans the heartbeat of a club? I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. The fans are the heartbeat of the club. So therefore, they should own it. And I'm telling you now, there's plenty of people, plenty of rich people, plenty of normal people who would put their money towards owning part of a club. I think with how much disaffection, disillusionment is there, especially in the English League, Premier League, with the owners, Liverpool, Arsenal, all of these guys who just come, rip the money, Man United, take the money, and they bought it with debt. They got a big loan from some bank because they've got some friends in high places, and they paid for it with debt. I remember Man United. Man United literally was bought as a loan. They didn't even pay for it with their own money. That's how ridiculous it was. And then they were leveraging the loan. A ridiculous situation. I've talked about the situation with Liverpool. Liverpool are owned by various Americans in a kind of, little group. And they've added LeBron James. Now, I love LeBron James as a basketball player, and there's nothing wrong with investing. Right, here we go. What's going on here? So Chelsea, holding the ball. Yeah. Brighton are playing well, by the way. Anyone watching, Brighton are playing really well. The little kind of prediction 1-0. Well, I don't know about that, but I think Brighton definitely got a goal in them. Anyway, so the situation with Liverpool, they got LeBron James as one of the owners. If I ask LeBron James, name 5 teams in the English Premier League. All right, we'll give you 3. I bet he only knows maybe the Manchester teams or something like that. You think he cares about what's happening in the UK? No, it's an investment. He put his money, he's also a billionaire, he put his money where he can make some money. These guys wanted the European Super League so they can make money, and that's what it's about. Simple as that. So, look, I agree 100%. I wish if Arsenal was 49% owned by the Kronkers, Stan Kroenke and his family, and then 51% was owned by Arsenal, I would have bought some, 100%. And so would have several other people. There's enough people around, enough fans that would actually buy it and actually get, have a voice, which has always been the problem at the moment. Right, so opinions on Nottingham Forest. Look, they're steeped in fantastic history. Amazing people. Won obviously the European League. Obviously, we know about the Brian Clough and all the rest of it. I wish they were in the Premiership. There's certain teams which you just hope were in the Premiership. They're one of them, Nottingham Forest. You want to see West Ham because they've got a lot steeped in history. And then obviously most of the top 6 teams there. But everyone else, everyone's coming and going, aren't they, to be honest? Look, I love Fulham because I'm Londoner, but Fulham are not in the Premiership. Or they are, but they're going to be going out pretty much. I wish they weren't struggling, but what can you do? They've got a lot of history as well, Fulham. And they went all the way down to League Two and nearly out of the league completely, but they've come back up. But they're going down from the Premiership. They need to stay in the Premiership. And the list goes on. So, yes, Nottingham Forest, I wish were in the Premiership. At the moment, I think they're having an indifferent season. I know they got a manager in there and stuff, but they need what most teams need, don't they? They need a sugar daddy to sort them out, or a sugar mama, someone who's got money. That's my thoughts on Nottingham Forest. And hopefully they do come up soon enough. But this year, it's going to be Norwich, it's going to be Watford. Good shot. Good attempt. Pulisic had a shot on goal, 18 minutes in, but it was off target. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with Nottingham Forest. But hopefully, they haven't really come close to really coming up for a while now. But this year, Norwich is coming up. They're obviously going to be champions without a shadow of a doubt. And Watford are going to join them. And then whoever else is in the playoffs, maybe Swansea, maybe Brentford, they've been the strongest teams. We'll see what happens. And what have we got here? We've got opinions on Liverpool's Pebble Dash houses. I can't say anything about their houses, really, because I can only count probably on one hand how many times I've been to Liverpool as a place. So I don't really know that much about Liverpool as a place. Their supporters are honest people. And I'm sure if the Liverpool were playing tonight, they would be out there. They'll be doing exactly what the Chelsea supporters did. They'll block the road. They wouldn't have any of that. They're very vocal supporters, and you never walk alone. And I've got no problem with Liverpool at all. I think they, as a team, as a support fan base, are fantastic. I think the owners are ridiculous. Liverpool's been one of those clubs, hasn't it, which has changed hands so many times, changed from one American to another American. It's for some reason it's just been passed around the Americans for some reason. I don't know how or why that's happened, but right, there's only so many people who can afford to run a club or pay off debt. So that's what I say about that. So the game is fairly. So at the moment now we're playing more in Brighton's half. Chelsea have got the ball. They're much more controlled, taking it down the wings and bringing it back in. Right, what do you think of the potential of the next Messi, Ronaldo? Lots of young talents, Mbappe, Haaland, Ansu Fati, Bentner. The list goes. Bentner? Okay, yeah, fine. But yeah, there's lots of guys. I mean, the people who are being lauded by the press. Okay, so Brighton headed the ball. Ball's gone out. Chelsea throw in the Brighton half. Chelsea are starting to press now. They're more than likely to score a goal. I haven't said my prediction for today, actually. My prediction today will be 2-1. I think Chelsea will score 2. I think Brighton will score 1. I think Brighton have got a goal in them 100%, but I think Chelsea will have too much for them. I'll be surprised if it's a draw, and I'll even be even more surprised, actually shocked if Chelsea actually lose and it goes the other way, reverse 1-0 or 2-1. It's not going to be a high scoring game. Both teams are playing fairly cautiously. Brighton want to stay in the game. Chelsea want to score, but they're not really moving the ball fast enough for me that it makes a difference. You got to remember this. This is Chelsea. Some of them are second stringers. Remember they've just played the FA Cup semis and the FA Cup final against Leicester. They've got Champions League next week. That's what they're probably thinking about, semi-final. So that's why they probably don't want to get injured. They're playing cautiously. Brighton are defending. Oh, here we go. Nice ball through. Oh, Brighton. Good time. Oh! In the goal area. Pulisic had the ball. The ball bounced about, but he hit it, smacked it, went straight into the goalkeeper's chest, though. So, yeah, that's where we're at. But, look, what do I think? Who do I think? Well, the people being lauded, let's be honest. The people being lauded by the press is Haaland and Anthony, right, straight. So they've had a couple of shots on target, but nothing doing Chelsea. They're making it too easy. Right. So let's have a look at the situation. Yeah, no, it's a fairly straightforward take. So at the moment, Mbappe and Haaland are the people that are being lauded. And look, I think Mbappe, I've got a few opinions about. I think he's brilliant. I think sometimes he can be inconsistent. Even person who comes and joins us usually, Carlos. He comes and joins us a lot, and he's part of the football fan show and the Sports Fans TV family. He would say that Mbappe is not as good as everybody says. Haaland hasn't scored consistently as well, so both of them have got some work to do to get to Messi and Ronaldo. But Messi has always been in a kind of bubble, Barcelona bubble. Ronaldo has moved around, so and he's done better and better. Wherever he's got, Man United was his real kind of turning point. Less tricks, more goals in the back of the net, and Brighton defending for their lives, but Chelsea are on it, by the way, in this game. And here we go. Oh, nice cross, easy for Brighton to take. But Haaland, I think, Mbappe good. Ronaldo got polished, then he obviously grew, and then he obviously went on to do great things. Obviously, at Real Madrid won lots of Champions Leagues. Not they didn't win the Champions League at Manchester United either. Won plenty of leagues there as well. So look, I think you got to remember Messi and Ronaldo in their 30s. They've been playing a long time. Mbappe and Haaland have been playing a little while, but they've really got some work to do to get to that level. I think they're the two people who stand out. Ansu looks good. Ansu Fati looks good. Obviously, Barcelona guy. He looks fantastic. Again, I'm sure he'll be nurtured in the right way. There's lots of players. We've talked about before about some of the Uruguayan players coming through. They're looking absolutely fantastic. We'll see what happens. So let's see. I think Mbappe and Haaland are the people, though, who are front and center at the moment. Whether they can deliver, well, we'll see when Haaland leaves Borussia Dortmund, and if Mbappe goes to Real Madrid. That's my thoughts on that. Right. So what's this? Nothing. Have I ever seen Liam Delap play? Liam Delap. No, I haven't seen him play. I know who Rory Delap is. But I haven't seen Liam Delap. I don't know anything about him. Is he in the Premier League? I don't think so. I'm just looking him up. Liam Delap. Oh no, he's Man City player. No, he's 18 years old. Okay, I don't know much about him. Is he Rory? Is he related to Rory? Oh, he's the son of Rory Delap. Okay, all right, good. So we obviously know about Rory Delap. I know Rory Delap obviously for his famous throwing of the ball, and he he used to be the thorn. Oh, here we go. Chelsea got a go. Chance. Oh, taken down. He was always a thorn in many people's sides. Let's be quite frank about it. Rory Delap, Stoke player, and he was a great player, at times. But I don't know anything about Liam Delap. I know his dad 100% because, like I said, he was in the Premier League. He did some great stuff there. So if he's as tall as his dad, as strong as his dad, then good luck to him. Good luck to him, and I'm sure we'll see more of him. I'm just having a look at. He only made one appearance so far in the league for Man City. So yeah, and one in the FA Cup, and one appearance in the League Cup and one goal. So yeah, he's not really played that much. So yeah, it's too early to say. Right, what have we got here? Opinions on the Super League. Well, we've talked about it, Jamie RTX. Look, Super League. So this game at the moment, by the way, is 26 minutes in, and Chelsea are putting the pressure on, but they're running out of invention. They're just getting there's high press by Brighton, and not really much going on there. But my thoughts on the Super League are this: the Americans wanted it to happen because they don't understand relegation. They don't have a clue what the situation is there. Other people joined the Man Cities and the Chelsea because they didn't want to miss out. The reason why the Germans didn't join, because we've talked about already, because they wouldn't have been allowed, because 51% of all their clubs are owned by the fans. The Porto was invited. They didn't want anything to do with it. The French weren't even invited. PSG, I don't know why. It's very bizarre, one of the richest clubs in the world. And I think that, as has been said, I think for the most part, most people initially wanted to be part of it because they thought it'd be better because the Champions League, they don't get as much money as they want, and it's not guaranteed. Whilst obviously the European Super League, they're guaranteed 300 plus a year. But obviously it's no competition because there's no relegation. And like I said, the people in the American kind of space wanted it because they are used to the NFL, NBA, no relegation, no promotion. You get just either the trophy or you don't. As simple as that. And then if you're bad, you get the first round draft picks from the college. But there's no college program like that in the UK. You start, when you're 3 or 4. By the time you're 6 or 7, you're in an academy and you just work through that academy, and that's it. And maybe you get picked to the bigger academies, and it goes on from there. So we don't have that kind of system in place. Footballers start much earlier than American footballers or basketball players to play professionally. So I think for the Americans, they were happy with it. I think everybody else didn't want to miss out on it. But I think overall, most people were using it as a way to kind of get leverage from the UEFA for more money. If it didn't work out, because obviously they must have behind closed doors, each club was thinking, if it doesn't work out, UEFA is surely going to give us more money now because they're giving us 50 to 100 million for winning the Champions League, whilst this would have been 300 to 500 million for playing for this cup, the JP Morgan trophy, I'll call it, because JP Morgan put 3.5 billion into this. I assume it was dollars because they're American companies. So look, it's 0-0, by the way, Chelsea game. So that's my thoughts on it. Why it's collapsed within 72 hours, which shows that it was built on like the Three Little Pig story. It was built on sand, I'm afraid. It was always doomed to fail. But let's see what happens. There's going to be a lot of conversations now about why it failed, and I'm sure UEFA will bend to their will. So let's see what happens. I've done that. That's why I kind of wanted at least a year of the ESL to see Messi, Ronaldo, and more unreal football time. And this is why, when we talked about it, me and the guys talked about it yesterday, and I've talked with Steve a bit about it today. This is why I think that they thought that it would do okay, because let's be quite honest about it, right? People who grew up watching football, soccer, whatever you want to call it, the whole life, generations of watching it, would be horrified by any idea that this kind of thing would happen, because there's no competition, right? You could lose all your games and still get 300 million. What's the point? Yeah, you might as well just play, and you can even play a second string team. You don't even take it seriously. You're guaranteed the money. Obviously, they wanted it to be fairly competitive, but if you're rubbish, you're rubbish, right? Some of the teams in there would have smashed some of the others quite straightforwardly. So that's why I think that people like myself would have, and as you've heard from many people, are horrified by it. That's why the fans were outside of Chelsea today. But on the flip side, the people who didn't grow up with it, the people, and I'm going to be honest here, people from China who didn't grow up with the Premier League because obviously the country's only opened up only a few years ago. The Middle East didn't grow up with it. People, most African countries have the Premier League because there's been African players for a while. Most people who haven't watched it throughout their lives would be interested in watching Ronaldo, Messi playing week in, week out against each other. Anyone who loves football would like competitive football think it's rubbish. It's boring. Oh, Chelsea have a little go there, no, going nowhere. Brighton are defending well, defending for their lives. They're trying to hit on the break, but then they're not fast enough to get the ball. So it's still 0-0, and it's half an hour gone. Fairly dull game, quite honest. At the moment, I expect Chelsea to be doing more. That they're moving the ball like it's very slow. If you move the ball slowly, you might score. But at the moment, it reminds me of yesterday. I was here yesterday, Liverpool game against Leeds, and I love Leeds. And Leeds scored like an 87th minute equaliser. So it potentially could happen like that today, the way that Chelsea are playing. They're not playing with the real vigour and the power. But anyway, so look, anyone who is not really a football person would be quite happy. No, all respect to you, Rebecca, hash tight taco. For me, this is why they probably thought it would work, because you'll be seeing the same people playing each other every midweek. The same teams playing each other 10 times. Real Madrid playing Barcelona 10 times. Real Madrid playing Arsenal 10 times. And people who actually care about football would find that boring. Messi, Ronaldo, let's be honest, at the end of their careers, by the way, they're in their 30s. And do they really want to do the league, as in La Liga, and then 10 midweek games? It's just not going to happen. Yes, they may do it because of the extra money they would have got, but it would have been so boring. Trust me, you'd have got bored of it. It's almost like watching something on repeat. So say, for example, you've got Netflix or one of these channels and you've got a series that you love. Unless you're like a person, I don't know if you like Friends or any of that type of stuff, and you like watching the same episode over and over and over again, or Grey's Anatomy. Some people love that. A lot of people love that program. Not me personally, but you get bored of watching Messi against Ronaldo. You want to see other people, and you want other opportunities for people to come in. So this is why they thought it'd work. Because they thought, like I said, the Orientals, the Saudis, and the Middle Eastern people would like that type of stuff, watching it over and over again. The Indian people and all those kind of people who kind of like the stars more than the actual football, maybe. I'm not saying they don't like the football, but you just want to see other teams come in who you never think of, like Lyon. They've never been in the conversation. Think about the Premiership. Why is the Premiership so exciting? It's because we've got teams like this. Brighton, that's a seaside town in the UK. We've got Burnley. Burnley is this place half an hour from Manchester with it's got nothing. It's like a few thousand people. It's got absolutely nothing there. Why would you even do something like that? It's ridiculous. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it anyway. That's why they thought work. Obviously, it's collapsed. It's not going to happen now. Have you heard about the Europa Conference League, and what are your opinions on it? Personally, I think it's good just 4 teams and Spurs. Oh, God, Brighton, a little tackle there, by the way. I'll come back to that. There's been a little bit of an argy-bargy. Is he going to pull a card? Let's have a look at it again, just before I get into that. Jorginho's probably going to get a card. Let's have a look at it. So Jorginho's gone, and he tapped the ball, and then he got taken out, clipped. So Jorginho, it's not Jorginho's fault at all. So Jorginho definitely shouldn't get a card for that. Anyway, it's 35 minutes, 0-0, fairly tepid game. Yeah, let's see what happens. Basuma and a little tap as well. So yeah, that's that. So anyway, this is my thoughts on anything outside of the Champions League or the Europa League. I just think I love the way you put Spurs in there. Luckily, I'm not a Spurs supporter. My personal thoughts on anything outside of that, it's just a bit too much mucking around, isn't it? So let's look at the Europa Conference League. It's going to be 32 clubs at the group stage, and look, it's an annual football competition. Clubs can qualify, and it'd be the third tier of European club football after the Champions League and the Europa League. So what's the point? What are we saying, that now Burnley and Brighton should be playing European football? I just don't get it. Why you would do a third tier competition? Well, it's got to be money, hasn't it? It's got to be money. It's got to be. So what are we going to have a situation at the moment? The Champions League is the Champions League. If you get to a certain point and you get knocked out, you can drop down to Europa League if it's in the early stages. Are you going to have then, if you get knocked out of the Europa League and then get knocked down to the European Conference League? Maybe. I don't know. But if that's the case, it's purely based on money. I think it's a ridiculous idea. But maybe there's a chance for the Spurs to win a trophy. Chances are slim. But the thing about it is that, thank you. Oh, thank you for the super chat. Oh, lads on tour. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'll get to that in a minute. So thank you. But I just think, well, honestly, what's the point? What's the point? All right, let's look at the situation. Right, let's have a look at the moment. So the game's still 0-0, fairly tough, but let's look at the situation, honestly. So what are we saying here, right? So first four teams, Champions League, right? Man City, Man United, Leicester City, Chelsea, right? Champions League. Europa League. Oh, Brighton have a free kick. Let's see what happens here, first of all. Nice free kick. If that was on the one of the head of the Brighton, I was definitely going in. Kepa looks all over the place. Brighton are all over. Having a dig. Oh, right at Kepa. That's good. Well done. I like that. I like that a lot from Brighton. They're having a go. It's coming obviously nearly to halftime anyway, 37 minutes in. But yeah, right. So let's go for it. So the first four teams, right? The first four teams here, Champions League. 5th, 6th, Europa League. West Ham, Liverpool at the moment, let's just say. And what we said, are we saying 7th, 8th, 9th? Or 7th and 8th? Maybe this European Conference League? But under the cost, Chelsea. Welbeck had a little go. But this is what I said. Chelsea are moving the ball too slowly, so they're getting caught out. So look, let's look. Honestly, what are we saying? Are we saying 7th and 8th or 7th, 8th and 9th? I think it's ridiculous. What is it going to be a point where everyone in the top leagues gets to play in Europe? Well, what we found, I've seen, and some to Wolves and all the rest of them, if you are a small team or a team which has not got strength and depth, to travel to Europe, no, you got the money for it, to travel to Europe week in, week out, like the bigger teams are doing, and then come back a couple of days later and play a game. They always struggled. So you're starting this Europa Conference League, which obviously is going to start, and you're just almost, for those teams, having a situation where they're like going to be playing, but they don't have the teams and the strength and depth to actually, for any shape or form, be able to deliver high quality football. There's a reason why you only do the top 6 teams in the UK anyway, is because those below them are doing terribly. Tottenham have just sacked their manager. They just sacked him. A few days before their first chance at silverware in forever. They've got a 29-year-old, the youngest ever Premier League manager, 29-year-old Ryan Mason, former player, and he stopped playing a couple of years ago, was in the academy. But they've got him in with a couple of guys, 2-3 guys that he knows. One guy used to be Charlton manager, so that's okay. But the main thing is that Tottenham are doing terribly. There's a reason they sacked their manager. Look, Tottenham drew, lost, drew. They won the game and they lost. Okay? Everton, 3 draws, 2 losses. Arsenal, 2 draws, 1 loss, 2 wins. these teams are in 7th, 8th, and 9th for a reason. And any of those teams being in another European competition, which is obviously starting next season, it's just ridiculous. But anyway, I can go forever. But that's my thoughts on it. I don't think it should happen. Right. Next one. All right. So can't be more boring than Chelsea versus Brighton. Haha, jokes, but all respect, dude. Thank you. Yeah, it's a boring game at the moment. I mean, Chelsea have got a free kick now. I can't see a goal being scored this half. That's how poor this game is. It's been really poor. Chelsea got a free kick. It's a nice free kick, but it's so easy for Brighton to take. Both teams are lacking quality. I think Chelsea are distracted by what's happened outside. Simple as that. I think it's tough to focus when you've had to fight through your own supporters at your own club to get through the door. That is madness, right? And then you've got Petr Cech coming out, one of the guys in charge of, director of football, coming out, begging, pleading. He's a legend of Chelsea, begging, let the coach through. 15-minute late start. It's going to rattle people. But Brighton, they're fine for their lives. Fair play to them. They're happy to get 0-0 in half time. I'm sure their goal is second half to really put it on Chelsea. At the moment, Chelsea are just playing in the Brighton half, but they're not showing any creativity. And just look at the situation, right? Let's look at who's we've talked about it. They need to get some fresh faces on. Kante needs to come on, 100%. I think Giroud needs to come on as well. Maybe Hudson-Odoi. Those are your three people I'd look to get on. Kante brings this defensive and creativity. He's good at passing the ball. Oh, here we go. No, it's going nowhere. Slow passing. Predictable passing from Chelsea. They're in the goal area, but nothing's really happening. It's really slow. It's almost at snail's pace. Kante can bring a bit of creativity and obviously defensive-minded. Giroud, he's a target. Hit the ball at him. Hudson-Odoi brings the creativity. So let's see what happens. But at the moment, it definitely looks like it's going to stay 0-0. Right, so let's carry on. Lads on tour. Thank you so much, first of all. Lads on tour, brilliant. Matty Cash, future right back, eligible to play for Poland as well. Yeah, he should play for England, of course. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. So thank you for the 79p. Look, everything as well. Thank you, lads on tour. And last thing, you have to go now. Good luck with the stream. Thank you, and join us again. We're doing cricket on Thursday, so I don't know if you want to join that, but we'll be back next week for the games that are on. So lads on tour, thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Look after yourself. Right, so getting back to this. Right, so Derby or Forest? Well, nice little shot there. Nice little shot. Well done. Nice little shot from Brighton. It was quite good. Jorginho's doing terribly. So going back to this, Derby or Forest? Well, look, both teams are not doing great. Let's be honest. If we look at the situation, if we're honest, Derby, I don't get it. I don't get the situation there. They should. They've got a good setup. Rooney's in charge. We all know that at the end of the day, look, if a team, oh look, Moyes is there, West Ham manager. Ah, okay, all right, that's good. Is that because they're playing them next? I don't know. I'll have a look. But let's have a look at the situation. I'm just going to have a look at when who's playing next. So Chelsea are playing Brighton, obviously, and West Ham are playing Chelsea next. Yes, at West Ham. So that's the situation there. But yeah, look at the situation, Derby and Nottingham Forest. I personally, like I've already said, Nottingham Forest are a team that I prefer to be in the Premiership. They're 17th at the moment, not great. They've lost. I'm just looking at the league. Lost, drawn, 2 wins and a loss. And a draw. Sorry, a loss, a draw, 2 wins and a draw. Derby, 4 losses and a win. I mean, that says it all, really. I think Rooney's struggling to be a manager. I know that people may hate me for that, but I have to say it like it is. I don't think he's a great manager. I don't know if he's having a situation where he doesn't get his point across. He's not clear in minded. He's got people around him. He's got Liam, wasn't he? Rosina with him and other people. Liam Rosina is very clear minded, but sometimes the greatest players in the world are not great managers. Look at Pirlo, one of the greatest players ever, one of the most stylish players. He's struggling at Juventus. You know, look how easy they got knocked out of the Champions League with Ronaldo there. I think, unfortunately, that Rooney's a name, and Rooney, it's the first job, of any substance. And he was there, obviously, doing well for them for a season or two, but a season and a bit. But I think that he's struggling to manage them. And look, I support Arsenal. I personally think that Arteta's struggling. But my point is that if you give them, as long as they stay up, obviously they're struggling, but they just need to win the next game, don't they? And that's it. They should be all right. A couple of wins. The bottom line for me is that for them, they need either he needs help, but if they need to back the manager, as long as they stay up in the Championship, they need to back the manager. Same with Arteta. I think Arteta's out of his depth. He's not doing a great job. But what can I say? You've got to back the manager. If they go down, then obviously they need to sack Rooney with everyone else. But look at the difference between Rooney's management and Lampard's management. Lampard was brilliant at Derby, got them to the playoffs, but now they're virtually going down and fighting for relegation, which shows to me a very difference in the way that management's done. Lampard was good at that level and maybe should have stayed another year. Chelsea was a big jump. It's a tough jump. I think he should have done a Gerrard, maybe stayed 2-3 years at a team, maybe get Derby up and then go to the Premiership that way, as opposed to jumping to Chelsea. But I think, for me, Rooney, I think he's struggling. That's my thoughts. I think as long as he stays up, you've got to back him, unfortunately. If he still struggles for another year and you still find relegation next year, then you'll have to get rid of him, I'm afraid. That's the reality situation. We've got an injury at the moment, but it's basically nearly half-time here. Been a tepid game, and Steve's going to come back on and chat through some of that. So, look, I think 0-0's right. It's been poor, but Steve will talk about that as well. So, Forest, I've said that already. I think Forest, look, they're a nice team. They've got a great history. They're not doing great at the moment. They need to get things together. I think they obviously need to think about maybe. I mean, the manager's fine. I don't think there's anything with the manager. He's done some great jobs. He was in charge of Brighton, wasn't he? But I do think that they need some fresh faces in the team, and I think that's the only way it's going to happen. But money talks, right? Chris Hughton is a great manager. I think he's had some great jobs and he's done some great stuff, but I think they have a lot of injuries and they need to just freshen up. So I think next season he should come good. I think Nottingham Forest. I think Derby won't come good. I think, unfortunately, for any Rooney fans, I think he's going to get the sack next season. Well, he'll get the sack anyway, regardless if they go down. So let's see. And Steve's coming back on. There we go. And it's half time. There you go. Hey, Steve, I'm just going through the messages.
Hey, mate.
Tepid half, isn't it? Tepid half.
Yeah, it is a bit. It's a little bit. It's a little bit unexciting, I suppose. 7 shots in the half. Some of those not particularly good ones. I think Chelsea had one very good chance where the ball fell to Havertz in the box, but it's not been. It's been a little bit. The pace has been down a bit. I think it's been a fairly quiet game, if you know what I mean. There's not been a lot of action really. Lots of fairly slow transition up one end of the pitch. Chelsea holding possession, Brighton defending their box, ball being moved quite slowly. I think Tuchel will be saying to them at half time to get the ball moving a bit quicker. Try and pull pull the Brighton players around a little more quickly. They're able to get back into their shape, and they don't have to move very far because the ball's not moving very quickly. So, yeah, I think no, but Pulisic's doing well. He's being very well marked by Ben White, who's following him around. I think if I'm Tuchel, I'm looking to swap Ziyech and Pulisic around maybe for a little bit in the second half, and to see if White will follow him or if he'll hand him over, and see if Pulisic gets a bit more joy against one of the other centre backs, against Webster or something. So yeah, not a huge amount of excitement in that half.
Yeah, no, it's been poor, but there's obviously, as you see, I've been answering loads of questions whilst I've been watching a rather tepid game. So before we get into this, there's a couple of questions here that Lads on Tour is brilliant. He made a little contribution, which was nice, on the super chat. And anyone who wants to make a contribution, you're more than welcome. And I've been obviously dealing with lots of different things and different questions, but I've just seen something here. So obviously people one thing which is quite interesting, someone sent me something saying Spurs lifting the Super League after all 11 clubs pull out. I love it.
The year ends in a one. The year ends in a one. That's Tottenham's year.
Of course. The last club standing, right? Because they're going to get smashed on the weekend. I appreciate Ryan Mason, 29. I'm sure he'll do a great job, the best he can do. But they're going to get smashed on the weekend. But someone sent something to me saying that KSC, as in Stan Kroenke and Arsenal, have alerted JP Morgan that they're ready to sell Arsenal after the collapse of the Super League. That's on Talk Sport, apparently. If that's true, absolutely fantastic news for Arsenal fans who thought Stan Kroenke has been absolutely horrendous for Arsenal and stifled everything that we tried to do. What's your thoughts on that, if that's the case? Because obviously there's going to be huge repercussions across. We've seen obviously people, already saying, being resigned and stuff. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, I suppose that if you're not keen on him as an owner, then that's good. But I suppose it's then okay. So if not him, then who? And
let's do the German model. 49% commercial, 51% of the fans. Let's do it.
Yeah, well, that would be that. I don't think Kroenke will do that. I mean, you could get a supporters group to raise money, but it would be a lot of money to buy that amount of the club. Yeah, I suppose that's the thing with ownership, isn't it? It's as Newcastle fans are finding out. They obviously would all like Mike Ashley to go. The only real serious bid has been a Saudi Arabian bid, and that, for various reasons, has not been supported by the government and has not been supported by the FA. I think, in no small part, because of Saudi Arabia's continued breaching of copyright on the television coverage of the Premier League, because in the Middle East I think it's beIN Sports that have got the rights to broadcast it, but I think Saudi Arabian broadcasters broadcast it anyway, and I think that's been one of the reasons behind the kind of difficulties that the Newcastle buyout has had, and the fans. And
are they trying to come back in some sort of form? I had something that they're trying to reform and.
I think they are, yeah. I think they probably are. I mean, it's a long-standing bid, and I think Ashley wants to sell and they want to buy. So I think they're trying to find ways to lobby and get that deal through. But I suppose the point goes to show that you might have an owner that you would like to see the back of, but then it's not necessarily a done deal. But Arsenal being up for sale, I guess they've invested heavily in their infrastructure. They've paid for their stadium. They've paid for their training ground, or at least the deep investment has been made. So nobody's got to worry about taking that expenditure or that project on anymore. Maybe it's a very sellable asset, and you never know who'll be interested in buying it, and what sort of pockets they'll have, and how they'll support the club. So interesting. But I mean, it is interesting, isn't it, that there's a lot of movement now in the boardrooms of these big clubs. And you'd have to wonder, I guess the difference between Manchester City and Chelsea, who signed up, and they're probably in some ways more similar to PSG, who didn't sign up, in terms of their financing, as much as they've got access to lots of cash if they want it. Obviously, notwithstanding any fair play rules and all that, but they're not insolvent. They've got plenty of money. Whereas most of the other clubs have got some sort of debt structure, which underpins their clubs, and maybe one of the things I think Arsenal and Spurs have both got these large loans from the Bank of England as COVID bridging loans.
Yeah.
I think they're due to be renewed very shortly with the government, and obviously they're in a slightly difficult position. What with the government's take on the Super League, so that might be something to watch in the next few days, is to see what happens to those large loans for Arsenal and for Spurs.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's going to be interesting all round. If obviously Arsenal do want to sell, that'd be great. But like I said, obviously there's repercussion with that, and there's a loan to pay off. But also as well, just thinking about the situation with all the other clubs that were involved. So Chelsea obviously have stepped away, but surely there's still going to be repercussions in that situation, isn't there? And same for obviously Man City. There was talk of docking points. Remember all this talk about docking points and all this kind of talk.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on all that? Do you think?
Well, I mean, I think I don't know, because I mean, I think the rules around that are tricky, because I think that even if you signal an intention to do something, you haven't actually done it at that point. So until you've actually done it, then it's difficult to impose a sanction, I suppose. But I guess that would mean a lawyer speaking to lawyer and reading the clauses of the regulations and of the various contracts and stuff. So I don't know. I mean, I think there was a very real danger of the clubs being kicked out of the Champions League. I think there was a very real danger of that, and I think UEFA and FIFA were able to flex the muscles that they had, UEFA more than FIFA, of course, and make things difficult. I say I understand the Chelsea players. Their representation to the board today was they were very unhappy at at their international chances being potentially put at risk. So.
Yeah. I just want to share this picture. So this is Gary Neville. Everyone knows who Gary Neville is, right? Man United legend, won a million titles and everything else with them. This is his reaction to Ed Woodward being sacked. Okay, so. He's a happy man, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Oh God, I love it. Look, at the end of the day, a lot of people weren't happy with him and happy with the situation, and the collapse has happened, right? And even Jordan Henderson, I've just seen something he put out. He put a tweet saying that look, we stand with Liverpool and the club, as in there's fans. We'll never walk alone, and it goes on. So. Yeah, I think that's where we're at with it. Really, I think it's going to collapse. I think we're quite comfortable saying that. And this insignia here will be part of football history, or not notoriety. I can't say it right. Notoriety, that's the word. So I think this is not going to happen. But look, thinking about the situation going forward, okay, and some people asked the questions earlier. Do you think that it's now going to have more? They're going to have more leverage to be able to negotiate the prices with UEFA for Champions League, because that's really what some of the clubs like the Man Cities and all the rest of it, Chelsea's, your team. Obviously, they reluctantly came in, but realistically, they wanted more money. That's the reason why they're there. They don't want to miss out. They wanted more money. So, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I guess my thoughts on that are, this was those clubs' big shot. This was their big effort to take control of the situation, and in 48 hours is falling apart. So, like the old, if you come for the king, you better not miss stuff. And I think they've come for the king and they've missed. So I mean, they're still the clubs with a draw. They're still the ones who are the ones who will sell TV deals around the world. But I think they're probably collectively in a slightly weaker position than they were before. They've rolled the dice. They've gone with everything they've got, and probably from a direction they weren't expecting. The fans, they've really been forced to to step down. As somebody put it on Twitter this evening, the big clubs have shown themselves both to be greedy, money driven, and absolute bottle jobs in the space of 48 hours. They've shown both terrible traits, which I think there's something in that. It's quite an amusing take, but no, I don't think their hands strengthened. I think they're now probably going to have to not exactly take what they're given, because they're still obviously influential, but I think now what they're going to do now, say to UEFA, well, we could always walk away and start up a Super League. UEFA will point to them and go, well, no, you can't. So they've shot their big shot and it hasn't worked. And I think they're going to have to think again about how that works. And maybe they'll just have to recognise that there is a collectivism in European football. I mean, I think UEFA do take a very large cut of the money, very large cut of the money that from the television rights, and I think there might be some room for negotiating on that. But not. But I think the big clubs have probably not helped their longer term cause by this stuff today.
Yeah, no, I agree. And look, someone asked me about this, and I want your thoughts on this before the game restarts. But what's your thoughts? And I said my piece about this. So obviously we've got the Champions League, we've got the Europa League, and now there's going to be the Europa Conference League, which is a third tier European competition. My thoughts were that it's the teams that in that position. One, they're in that position for a reason, like teams outside the top six, so the 7th, 8th, 9th, whatever's going to be involved. But also, they struggle with these type of things, going to Europe and coming back and all that. So, what's your thoughts on it?
Well, I think it's a desire to get more teams into European competition. And I think that's probably okay. I think it's really there for the more middle ranking countries, I think, and the lower ranking countries, the kinds of places that have some teams that can be competitive, but are not likely to be competitive at the top end of the Champions League. So I don't think this is so much aimed at teams finishing 7th and 8th in the big league. So they're kind of there because sometimes it means you'll get a very big club and a prestigious club in the competition. I think this is more aimed at the teams that do well in Norway and Finland and other countries that don't necessarily ever really feel they're going to compete in the Champions League. And I think it's a way to extend that European competition to kind of more deeply across European leagues, rather than get more of the big leagues involved, if you see what I mean. So I don't know. I think I would say I think at the moment, the way things are constituted, I think if you're a big club and you're looking to try to win your own league, then possibly the worst thing that can happen is that you can qualify for the Europa League at the moment. Because I think the Thursday-Sunday treadmill of games can be very, very difficult, can make it really, really tricky to put together a league campaign. You've got often much longer journeys around and about, and you've got tired players, and the scheduling is not very helpful, and you have to play quite a lot of games, and relative to the Champions League, it's not very lucrative, and all of those things. So Europa League's kind of fine once you get to the semi-finals and the final, but up to then it can be a bit of a slog, I think. And so therefore, no great surprise perhaps when we have things like Tottenham's exit to a pretty mediocre side. And so on. So with that in mind, I wonder if the Europa Conference League is going to be a little bit more like that, where it's just going to be a drain on clubs who if you're a team that hasn't got much of a pretension to win your league, and you finish in the Europa Conference League spaces in England, for example, maybe you're happy to have that additional European adventure if you're a Southampton or West Ham or someone like that who doesn't routinely qualify for Europe. But if you're a team like Manchester United, Chelsea, Liverpool, who happen to have a season where you drop into those places, then I think it's going to make it all the harder to get into the top four and challenge for the championship again. So I think but I think the main focus of it, to extend meaningful European competitive action with a chance of some glory to more leagues and more clubs who do well in smaller leagues, I think is probably not a bad idea.
Yeah, okay, brilliant. Thank you for that. Well, game's about to start. This is the last thing, just on these questions. Do you know anything about Matty Cash?
I know he's the Aston Villa right back.
Yeah, but someone featuring the right
Yeah,
back. Do you know anything about
yeah.
him at all?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he's certainly very good. I suppose the one thing, if you're Matty Cash, that's not in your favour is the fact that England probably have the best collection of right backs in world football at the moment.
Yeah.
If you think about, you've obviously got Reece James is playing tonight. You've got Walker at Manchester City. You've got Trippier, who Southgate clearly likes. I know Wan-Bissaka is talking about changing allegiance to the Congo, I think, or someone like that.
Okay.
But potentially he could, maybe it's not over for him. So there's a lot of players that can play right back that are very good players that are available for England. So Cash is one of them. He is a good player. I mean, I think it's his first season in the Premier League, I think. So he possibly wants to sustain his form across a little bit longer. He may have been in last season. I can't remember, but I know he was a Nottingham Forest group because I think Southgate has got a few players there that he likes. And I would be quite surprised if he managed to prove to be a better option than Walker or Reece James or Kieran Trippier. I'm sure there's somebody I'm missing as well. There's so many right backs that England have got that they could potentially choose from. So good player, wrong position. I think if he was a left back, I think he would be a much closer shout to the squad, because whilst I think Chilwell and Shaw look good, and Saka perhaps in a 3-4-3 formation would be an option. There probably is an opportunity for a top class English left back to make a mark in the next few years in international football if they play the cards right and they sustain form. So yeah, but Cash is good. I didn't know he was eligible to represent Poland. That's interesting.
I didn't know either.
Yeah.
The game has started again. It's 48 minutes in, and the game has started again as it ended. Very poor. But obviously you're going to come in a minute. Last thing before we go, Derby or Forest. Someone's put, and in terms of formation and chemistry, I thought Derby don't look great. I personally think that Rooney's struggling at management, and then he probably is more likely to get sacked. They should back him, but I think he might get sacked. I think Chris Hughton's doing the best he can with the injuries he's got. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I think Chris Hughton's a bit of an underrated manager. I think he's always done pretty well wherever he's been, and obviously Rooney's starting out in management, I think. I mean, I have a deep knowledge of both squads, but I think Forest are probably better set for better football in the medium term. But yeah, as you say, Derby can't. Obviously they had Lampard and he moved on. I think they'll probably be looking for Rooney to stay for a couple of seasons and probably improve and get better. And obviously Rooney's got great experience and has worked for Ferguson and should bring some experience and everyone's shaped by their own experiences, aren't they? So you'd like to think that would rub off on Rooney to some extent. And Moyes as well, of course, has managed him. So he's got some people he can learn from in his background. But yeah, I think Hughton is an underrated manager, and I think knows what he's doing, organises his teams very well, and on that basis, I think Derby or Forest. I'd probably say Forest.
Okay. Good stuff. Thank you. Well, I'll let you go now. It's 15 minutes, and you missed the first 5 minutes, but you haven't missed anything.
No, well, they've been waiting for me to come back. I'll catch you at full time, Mac.
Yeah, catch you at full time. Thanks, Steve. See you in a bit. All right, so let's get back to the game. So, look, you haven't missed anything at all in the game. It's been extremely poor. But Chelsea having a go. The problem at the moment for Chelsea is the ball always goes to Reece James. And that's what makes it predictable. If you keep on sending the ball to the same player over and over and over again, then obviously Brighton are going to get wiser. The other thing about Brighton as well, I'd say, is Brighton, everyone's tall. I'm looking at the team. I literally can only see maybe one player, Basuma, who's like less than 6 foot plus. So you're going to struggle. Hayek got through. Oh, Hayek outrun. The one thing that Brighton don't have is pace. So Hayek outruns somebody down the right-hand side and pop the ball to what's his name? Pulisic, that's it. And Pulisic had a go, but it's all scrambled and it was fine. So nothing apart from that. Looking okay. At the moment, I'm honest. If I'm honest with what I see so far, it looks like it's going to be a draw, which is not what my prediction was. My prediction was 2-1. But at the moment, honestly, one goal will win this game. Just one, because I just can't see either of the teams scoring. That's how bad this game is at the moment. Ziyech is probably the brightest player. They need to freshen up. I've said already who I think. Get Kante on or Giroud, and get Hudson-Odoi on. I think for Brighton, Trossard's doing really well. Welbeck's okay, but he's not doing fantastically. I think get Mapoy on. Lallana, he scored some great goals in the second half of games, been a great super sub. Get a couple of these boys on just to make the attack a bit more meat on the bones. That's my personal thoughts on the matter. So let's see what happens. But yeah, getting back to everything that's happening, look, in the world of football. We didn't even get a chance, me and Steve, to talk about Jose Mourinho. And by the way, anybody's got some thoughts, it was great to interact first half. If you've got some thoughts second half, let me know. Jose Mourinho getting sacked. Imagine that. That's crazy, isn't it? This guy has won everything in most countries. And yet the last few years he's been poor. He's been poor. Really poor. Ball's gone back to Chelsea. It's just very quiet. The ball's just been passed out from the back, getting passed back to the defender, getting passed to the guy slightly forward. And the ball's just been whacked randomly into the second tier by Kai Havertz. That was very, very poor. Right, so as far as, Jose Mourinho, look, this guy, what happened? I don't know where he turned from being a great manager to an average manager to being below par. It's very bizarre how he just went downhill. So he did okay at Real Madrid. Didn't do too badly. But before that, he wasn't really a defensive player. He obviously had the players to do it with. But everything he did at those other clubs was pretty good. It's only when he came back to the UK, when he took his second stint at Chelsea, where he really started to play negative part of the bus football. It was very bizarre. He didn't trust his players. He just became very negative about things. I don't know why. I'd love to know your thoughts on the Jose Mourinho situation. So the ball's just literally being passed along the line for Chelsea. Chelsea had the ball. They got plenty of possession, but doesn't really mean anything at the moment. They got all the possession. Ball's getting weakly passed around. Brighton have got it back and just whacking it out. I personally don't understand why Jose Mourinho became like that. But he did. And his setup was all poor. And he didn't like egos for some reason. He started to really have a problem with big egos. But he dealt with some big egos before. John Terry, Didier Drogba, and the list goes on. Frank Lampard, some big, big names. So Man City have officially confirmed that they've enacted the procedures to withdraw from the European Super League. Brilliant. So that's the breaking news, which is good. So they're not interested. Then why should they be? Why? They don't need the money. So that's my thoughts on that situation. But yeah, Jose Mourinho came back negative, couldn't handle the egos, had a real problem with people. I don't know why. It was very bizarre. He didn't get on with anybody. That was the first time you really see the real kind of upsetting people unnecessarily. I don't understand why, but he just became a very angry old man. It was very bizarre, and I just don't understand why. I never understood why. There's no reason for it. And then so Chelsea have the ball, plenty of possession. Brighton trying to high press. Nothing's really happening, to be honest. Chelsea got the ball in their own half at the moment. Brighton are doing the high press, and Chelsea are running down the right as usual. Ziyech has got the ball, pass it back to Kai Havertz, and he's been pushed out, and that's that. Back to goal kick. So very poor, very, very poor from Chelsea. Brighton just defending. They're quite happy with the draw. They don't care. They're happy. Kai Havertz has got to realise he's playing against people that are taller than him and stronger than him. So trying to push people off is not going to work. But that's where we're at the moment. It's the slowness of the game is slightly concerning. It would be if I was Chelsea manager, because Brighton have got a goal in them. So if Brighton score, what's going to happen? So his ball's just good with Kepa. He's just passing it out. But yeah, look, for me, Jose Mourinho came back, was poor at Chelsea, started really upsetting people. We've obviously, it's well documented that Fabregas ball's back with Kepa, he's spanked it out. Well documented, Fabregas and several others said, look, we're not happy, and they got him kicked out. Simple as that. Then he went straight back into Manchester United. They had been going through a million managers, and then he started having problems there. They backed him. He spent all this money on Pogba and all the rest of it, and they backed him. And so at the moment, Chelsea are kicking the ball out or playing out from the back, getting the ball up to the halfway line. Then Brighton are getting it back. Going, oh, who's that? Lallana. I told you, Lallana's coming on. I told you need to come on. So Lallana's coming on. I don't know who for. They're kicking the ball high or playing the ball out from the back. And then what's happening is Brighton getting the ball and coming straight back at them. So it's like, oh my God, Chelsea, you got to get a grip. If you've got the ball, surely you take it to the other end, not the same end that you are. So, yeah, anyway, they need to get their act together. So that's where we're at anyway. Oh, here comes a shot. No shot. There's too much passing around by Chelsea. No one's actually having a dig. If you put the goalkeeper under pressure, you might actually get somewhere. That's my personal thoughts on the matter. But that's not what they're doing. So 59 minutes in, 0-0, very tepid game. But we've had a good chat about everything else that's going on in the world. But yeah, look, I'm surprised at the lack of focus by Jose Mourinho at Man United. He had everything at his disposal, money, great players, everything. And yet he just became an angry old man. The issues and the anger towards Pogba for, I don't know, I think he turned up late once, but doing it blatantly and just in front of everybody just is very cringeworthy. And then obviously they won the Europa League, I think, and they won the League Cup. But that wasn't because of him. That was because of the other team. Here you go. Chelsea having a go now, finally. Running through. Oh! Pushed off. Oh! Good defending. Good defending. Good defending. So Chelsea players were running hard. Running hard at the Brighton players. But it was right through the middle as well. But he got pushed off the ball. Run through, pushed off, and he landed badly. And there's Kai Havertz. He's on the floor. I'm sure it's not too bad an injury. He may have fallen weirdly, but overall... Oh, no, it's Pulisic. So Trossard off, Lallana on. There you go. So I thought Trossard was doing okay. I'd rather take it of Welbeck. But Welbeck and Lallana together have shown to be pretty good. So let's see what happens there. So we're 61 minutes in. Pulisic walking like he's a little injured, but I don't think he was injured. I think he just fell over a bit. So let's see what happens there. Have a little drink, run back on. So I'm just seeing if there's any more news on anyone else pulling out. So Chelsea, Man City, but let's see what happens with the other teams that are involved. But it's a situation where at the moment this game is going to peter out to 0-0 or maybe a 1-0. But yeah, then going back to Jose Mourinho, look at the situation. Went to Man United. That should have been the dream job. That's the dream. That's the job he'd been dreaming of forever. He'd been talking about it for quite some time. Yes, he went back to Chelsea, but he really wanted the Man United job. He wanted to build a legacy like Sir Alex Ferguson. Didn't happen. He got angry old man syndrome. And unfortunately, his journey was ended there. And then he talked a lot. Then he was off for quite a bit. He talked a lot then. Kepa's got the ball back. It's the back with Chelsea. It's very bizarre, this game. Chelsea are at home. I appreciate the situation, and I appreciate that they may have been distracted by what happened out on the streets. But this is a game that they should be winning. If they want to get to finish in top four, this is a game they have to win. They should be beating Brighton. Brighton are not a team they should be struggling against. They definitely are. That's such a poor pass straight to the Brighton player. They need to freshen up. Look at the time, 62 minutes. Why do managers always wait to the 70th minute to do something? Do something now. It's crazy. Brighton have got more of the ball, more incision, more chance of scoring at the moment. That's the facts. Look at the situation, though. Mourinho lost that job, and I think after he lost, the Chelsea and the Man United job, any job after that was really going to be just, for him, just a job that he's doing just to keep going. That's the truth of the matter. He's done all the jobs. Remember, he's been at Real Madrid. Also, he was at Chelsea. Was at Porto. Where else is he at? Was he at Milan? Where else has he been? And he's been at a lot of places. Chelsea twice. He did a lot of places, and he won a lot of trophies. He won lots and lots and lots and lots of trophies. What did he win? Let's get a quick look. So he won the league, obviously, in the UK 3 times. Obviously, all with Chelsea. But he won loads. He won at Porto. He's at Porto, yeah. So he's at Benfica, then another club, Una del Liria, Porto. We talked about that actually before. Porto, then, Hudson-Odoi getting ready. Chelsea, Inter Milan, Real Madrid, obviously Chelsea, Man United, and then Tottenham Hotspurs. So Hudson-Odoi is coming. I told you they need some creativity. So thank God for that. We're not waiting forever to get people on. So Hudson-Odoi will bring some creativity, which this game desperately needs. Ball's just being passed the wings and being whacked across goal. It's not going to happen. Brighton players are too big, too strong, and they're Premier League players. And there's a reason why they're Premier League players. They know how to defend. So he won, like I said, he won everything. Champions League, Premier League 3 times, won the FA Cup, Community Shield, the League Cup he's won a few times. He won Serie A twice, Coppa Italia, Super Coppa Italiano, and obviously Champions League at Inter again. La Liga, Copa del Rey, Super Copa de España at Real Madrid. Then, as I've said, the Europa League, League Cup and Community Shield at Man United. But after the United job, like I said, everything else really after that was always going to be an issue. Always going to be... Yeah, it was always going to be like a bit of, afterthought. The guy's not that old. So did he really want the Portugal job? Maybe. I don't know. But he's 58. He's still got plenty of life left in him. And even the interview after was, I'm ready to get straight back to work. And that's great. I'm sure you're happy to get back to work. It's a question of whether you can find a job. I think in the UK, the job's done. I think Tottenham was a job. He always criticises players as well. That's what came into play, which started to really annoy, I think, anybody. I didn't understand the whole outing players. It didn't make any sense to me whatsoever why he would do that. But he did. And that was that. But It's just unnecessary to do that. I just think, you got your players, you got to work with them. Why are you saying this player didn't have quality, that player didn't play well, and then changing your mind halfway through? If they're playing well or not playing well, keep it in the dressing room. Dear. And it's just like, it was bad. With the Tottenham situation, it was extra bad because of, let's be quite frank, his feeling that the Tottenham team weren't good enough. That's the truth of the matter. He never thought the Tottenham team were good enough. He obviously liked Harry Kane, obviously world class. Son, obviously a great player for them. But he just became bitter and angry and twisted. And the interviews became so cringeworthy at the end. It just became not horrible, but just like really bad and just not very nice. But anyway, that's the situation. So Hudson-Odoi's on anyway here. There's been 67 minutes gone. And let's see what happens. Oh, he's not on yet, actually. He hasn't had a chance to be thrown on yet. Sorry. Yeah, I thought he was on, but he's not come on yet. So Chelsea are still fighting. They've got a good, strong setup, Brighton. They're not going to be broken down easily. Oh, look. They're bringing a few. Hudson-Odoi's coming on. Werner's coming on. People being asked to come off quickly. Okay. So a couple of people being told to come off quick. Kai Havertz is coming off. He hasn't had a great game. Marcus Alonso's coming off. He hasn't had a great game. Kai Havertz can't handle the big guys. He was struggling, falling over. Hudson-Odoi is good. And I just think Kai Havertz, he's going to take a little while to get used to the English game. Maybe needs to pump some iron or something like that. He gets pushed off the ball way too easily. And then he just struggles with it. So he just needs to get a grip about the situation. But anyway, look, 20 minutes left. And here we are. Brighton are looking the better team, which is bad, really, considering they're away. But that's the way it is. There's frustration on Mason Mount, frustration with the whole team, really. It's a free kick to Brighton. So it's just poor. It's just poor at the moment. Mason Mount can't believe it. So let's see how this free kick goes. It's a bit far out. I don't think Brighton can do anything with this. But look, I'd like to hear your thoughts about Jose Mourinho. What were your thoughts about him? Do you think he should stay in the Premier League? There's not many jobs for him to go to, but do you think he should stay in the Premier League? Where should he go? Where would he go? I think he needs to go back to Portugal, personally. Maybe go back to one of their teams there. One of the teams he formerly managed is Brighton's free kick. It's straight underneath, and it just went straight off target. I think he needs to be the national team manager of Portugal, or work with the club there. I think that's the way forward for him. I think would Italy take him back? Maybe Italy, maybe Spain. Definitely not. They hated him. England, where else could he go? He's been to Man United. He's been at Chelsea. He's been at Tottenham. This guy has managed a couple of the biggest teams in, the country, in Europe. Obviously, Tottenham haven't won anything for a while, so it's hard to put them in that space. But Man United and all their history, and Giroud's not playing, he must be annoyed. And Chelsea, powerhouse as well. And yet there's nowhere else for him to go. Let's see where there is. Man City, definitely not. Pep's there. They would never take him on. He's not their style. Remember, he plays very defensively and he causes problems in the dressing room. Chelsea got the ball, don't know really what to do with it. clipped it straight to the goalkeeper. How bad was that? Really bad. Anyway, so yeah, let's look at the situation. So Man City can't go to. Obviously, he's not going to Chelsea. He's been there twice already. Never go to Arsenal. Arsenal don't like him. However, there's conversations that apparently he was being considered before we obviously got Arteta. That's crazy talk for me, because the amount of vitriol that he had with Arsene Wenger, it would not wash with the fans. They'll be outside, chanting and demonstrating. That would never happen. Jose Mourinho, Arsenal, you're mad. So that's that would have been just that was just laughable. So he can't go to Arsenal, he can't go to Man City, obviously can't go to Man United, can't go to Tottenham. Where else can he go? Where else can he go? He can't go to Everton. Ancelotti's there. Would he go to Southampton? No. Southampton wouldn't take him on. Oh, shot straight into the second tier from Brighton. There's not many places he could go. So he can't stay in England. That's what I'm saying. So we'll see what happens anyway. But back to this game. Brighton are having a dig. They smacked the ball, and it went into the second tier. Bissouma. Nothing really happening there. Both teams at the moment are shooting shots off target. So let's have a look at the stats, because I think it's important to look at the situation. 4 shots, 6 shots, 2 on target from Chelsea, 1 on target. It is 73 minutes, and we've only seen 3 shots on target. Two of those shots on target with having 65% possession. What have you been doing with that possession? 589 passes to have 2 shots on target. What? You mad? Chelsea still will go up to 4th place if they get the draw. I think as the game gets to the last 5-10 minutes, they'll want to win it, but they'll definitely want to make sure they get a draw. Brighton, they're pretty safe now, to be honest. They're 7 points off relegation. That's not going to happen. Look at Fulham. Fulham got 5 games left. West Brom, they've got a few games, but they're just not going to do it. And Sheffield United are relegated. So let's see what happens. So both teams, a draw would be totally fine for both teams, to be honest. I think Chelsea wanted to be in 3rd place. Ben White's just got a yellow card. They'd rather be in 3rd place, but they'll take 4th at this stage. Because if they won this game, then they jump above Leicester and make it quite tight for them. So, okay, so there's more changes going on now. So McAllister's off for Mapai. I did say Mapai, didn't I? He needs to come on. I thought he's important. If you want to score a goal, he's the man that's left on the bench who can do it. So let's see what happens there. Let me know your thoughts on Chelsea's situation, Mourinho, and the European Super League. I said quite a lot about it in this first half. Second half, we haven't talked about that much because hopefully there's a goal coming soon. But it's not looking good. 75 minutes. We haven't seen anything like a goal even being sniffed at by the goalkeepers. Must be getting really bored because nothing's happening really. There's a lot of playing going on, but not much goal mouth kind of action. Brighton just whacked the ball straight to Kepa, hoping that Mapoy could run onto it. Ball's been... That's ridiculous. So played out from the back. Brighton nearly took it back off Chelsea. Chelsea got the ball. So the collapse of the European Super League. Yeah, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are about it. It's all going off and it's virtually over. Chelsea got the ball here and passed the ball. That'll be a good thing. Tried to weave it through. Brighton aren't having any of it. You're not going to be able to weave the ball past 2 6'2+ players. I don't know what Timo Werner was thinking about that. That was ridiculous. But yeah, collapse of the European Super League. As soon as it started, it fell to pieces. A ridiculous situation, really. So, yeah, I don't know really what to make of where they go from now. Well, I'll tell you what they will go for. They'll go for a discussion and a negotiation with UEFA, won't they? That seems the way forward. And iron out the differences or whatever problems. And see what happens. Oh, Giroud's coming on. Giroud's coming on, finally. Like I said, they need a target man. Giroud needs to definitely come on. Let's see who he comes on for. Yeah, the game's not really going anywhere for both teams, so Giroud definitely needs to come on. Someone's just on the floor injured. There's all a bit of a handbags at dawn. High tackle on Christensen, but isn't too bad. Isn't too bad. Basuma, yeah, that's fine. He looks all right, Christensen. Giroud's finally on. Ziyech off. I thought Ziyech was doing really well. I've got no problem with how he was playing. But they do need a target man. At least the thing with Giroud. Giroud scores pretty much all the time against Brighton. So, yeah, let's see how he gets on. If you can get there, you're going to whip the ball in and you're going to try and get Giroud on the head against it, okay? Because he's the one who you want to whip the ball in. He's as tall as the Brighton defenders. And he's a good jumper as well. Brighton have got the ball. Oh, you missed that! Oh, Lallana one-on-one with the goalkeeper. Got a big goal to shoot at. Didn't even get on target. What was that? Okay, had a defender in front of him, fine. But I think it was Kurt Zuma. Kurt Zuma lost the ball and they just turned him. But come on, you should have made more of that. It wasn't even on target. At least make the goalkeeper do something. And ball's just being whacked across from Chelsea. Chelsea got the ball back. I don't know where Giroud is at the moment, but there's got to be more from this. Nice passing from Chelsea. They're getting it together now. The introduction of Hudson-Odoi has made a huge difference. He's brought some life to the team. They're passing the ball much faster now. It's literally at pedestrian pace earlier on, but now, finally, you're actually seeing some real good football played by Chelsea. Even though, obviously, the game is looking like a draw, unfortunately. It shouldn't look like a draw, but that's what it looks like. It definitely looks like a draw. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the game and European Super League and all the rest of it. It's been crazy. It's been crazy. It's been crazy what's been going on. All the stuff that's been happening. The collapse of the European Super League, Ed Woodward leaving, Man City pulling out, Chelsea pulling out. It's just crazy. This is crazy. Crazy days is as literally as soon as it started, like a oh Brighton hit the post. They had a beautiful shot, smacked it straight on the side post. It bounced straight off, literally back to Brighton play. He had another shot, he missed it. Brighton have no. Oh, Lallana fired a rocket right there. Rocket. Boom. And Kepa got down fast. So playing out from the back, got taken off Brighton. Welbeck had a shot. It was a lovely shot. Oh my God. From left to right. And it just hit the bar. It should have gone in. Just hit it. Oh, he'd be in the goalkeeper as well. Bounced back out. He had another dig. But this playing out from the back. How many teams have got caught by it? A million. Brighton are on the front foot here. Oof. Nice passing. Brighton want the goal. Because I'll tell you what, 1-0. If someone's going to score, it's going to finish 1-0. 81 minutes. I wonder how many extra minutes there will be. Won't be many, 2-3 minutes. It's getting tasty now. The game is spiced up a bit. After being such a boring game, it's taken 81 minutes to actually get some decent football. Oh God! But yeah, let's see what happens anyway. Here, let's see. So Chelsea got the ball. Nice pass. Bryson got it back. Okay, good. Okay, good. So yeah, look, it's been crazy, and I think it's going to be interesting for these Americans who've been trying, to get this off the ground. What I'm interested in is what they're going to do now. Are they going to stay in the league? Probably not. Obviously, if this is true about Arsenal, they want to sell. That's great. I'm telling you now, Liverpool will probably have to sell as well. They'll probably have to think about selling because how can they carry on in a league they don't understand and what they desired and wanted not happening? I don't see how they can stay in the league. How can they stay in the league? It doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the ownership and the changes there. This game has picked up. The pace has picked up definitely, which is nice, but still plenty of football to play. So it's still 0-0. Everyone's having a go now. Brighton's having a go. Kick the ball. Yeah, let's go. Get the ball up. Brighton got the ball. Nice control. Passing it. Nice movement. Oh, ball came nicely to the Brighton player, and he just fluffed his lines. If he had controlled it with one touch and put it in, they would have put them under pressure. Put Chelsea under pressure there, but that's not what's happened. Last few minutes here. 84. I think now I definitely don't think it's going to be 2-1. I think it's going to finish 0-0 or 1-0. Depends who's got that bit of magic, that bit of quality. It wouldn't surprise me if it's Chelsea 1-0 because Giroud's on, and we know that Giroud, if he gets the ball to him, knows it well. But Brighton are the ones taking the ball off Chelsea's feet, and they're the ones who are playing the better football by far. They're controlling everything. Controlling the ball. Yeah, it's not been great. The attempts from Brighton have been, in the second half, have been 4. Chelsea have only had 1. Both have had a shot. Oh, this guy on the left, he's just at 33. He's I don't know what he's doing. 34. Oh yeah, 33. Burn. He's moved out to left, but every time the ball comes to him, he struggles to control the ball, and then just gather it up. So then, what's going on? What's the point of putting a guy on the left to collect the ball if he's got no control of the ball? What's the point? He's got to be able to control it. If you're going to do that position, you've got to control the ball. It seems bizarre to me that he's there, but he's not really doing much. If you control the ball, if you control it, then obviously things will be better. Chelsea got it now. Werner passing it to the right. They always like to go to the right, these guys. Chelsea. And the ball's gone all the way back and just kind of bouncing around. They're going backwards, Chelsea, with the ball. Go forward. That's where the goal is. Ball's been passed back to Kurt Zuma, who's a centre back. Okay, they're running, finding the ball. Brighton, good defending, high line. Ball's coming in. Ooh, that's probably the best chance, the honest chance of this half. Ball's come through, gone straight through. Hudson-Odoi's got the ball, put the ball straight through the legs of the player and straight to Olivier Giroud. But it was well off target. All he had to do, maybe curl it aside, but he hit it straight and it just straight into the rafters. That's probably the best chance so far. Okay, Brighton making some changes. Danny Welbeck off. Yeah, I did say he probably needs to come off. Jacob Moda on. Yeah. Welbeck looked tired. He didn't look as good as he's played last time. He's played a few games and been really, really good. But at the end of the day, his situation is that he gets injured. So he needs to take a break. There's still a few games to play, and he's still a great player. So let's see what happens. Brighton fighting for their lives. So they're actually, nice pass there. Nice pass. So they're just playing down the left for some reason. Get it, come on, do something with it. Indecision in the passing. Indecision. Just passed it back to Chelsea, back to Brighton. So Chelsea had the ball, they just whacked it out to Brighton to take back. Brighton got the ball, passing it, going down the left-hand side. I don't know why they don't try the right-hand side, maybe. Try the right, Brighton. It's very messy game, very messy. Everyone's scrapping for the ball. There's no one actually controlling it, possessing it, passing it nicely. Brighton had a little bit of possession, but it was going nowhere. They're just going in a triangle over and over and over again. So that's not really going to win you anything. So game's nearly at a close here. I want to see how many minutes are extra time, but at the moment it's still 0-0. Control by Chelsea. They got the ball going in. Do something with it. Just passing it. All they're doing is passing to each other. Across. It's gone to Chelsea. Finally, they got the ball. Brighton just defending so well, Brighton. Brighton are doing brilliantly. It's really, really good. Chelsea got the ball down the right. Ball's come in and an attempt at goal. Good try from Pulisic, but the goalkeeper was never going to get caught by that. So, yeah. And obviously, as I said before, Man City have pulled out. Chelsea have pulled out of this European Super League. So that's all done and dusted. That's the beginning of the end. If they pulled out, then it's pointless, really. Pointless carrying on. Because what are you gonna? You cannot convince anyone else to do it. So no one else is definitely going to join now with the toxic situation with it. So, right. So Chelsea got the ball. It's just end to end now, but no quality in that final third from both teams. And what's happened is all this happened. They're getting all the way to that final third. And then when they're at that final third, the ball goes back to Brighton. And then Brighton are doing exactly the same. They get into that final third, and then the ball's going back to Chelsea. So fairly pointless situation, really, at the moment. No one really showing the qualities that kind of, well, for Chelsea, has got them fighting for top four. Now, I appreciate, like I said, the situation has been what it's been. But, yeah. Where's Timo Werner putting his hand up? What's he doing? Timo Werner tried to buy a corner. Ben White has been given man of the match. Brighton player. That says everything you need to know. Timo Werner had the ball, and because he couldn't control it, and the ball went out of play, he tried to, try and say, "Oh yeah, it's a corner." This is the English Premier League. You have to actually have a real corner, not just make it up in your head. Hopefully, Timo Werner comes good next season. He needs, obviously, these last few games. It's only 3 minutes extra time, and we've played 2. It's been very, 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 very tepid. There was a little spell there, wasn't there? About 5-10 minutes of the game doing really well. But this game, I'll be shocked. I'll be shocked if anyone scores now. It just feels like a draw. It feels like no one's going to score. No one even looks close to scoring, which is frustrating, really, because you would have thought more's going on. But it's been obviously to chat about the European Super League. It's been a chance to chat about Jose Mourinho and all that's happened there. And just about Chelsea as well and Brighton. This is a game where Chelsea, on paper, should have won, without a shadow of a doubt, and kind of firmed up their top 4 position. But instead, they're hanging on to top 4, hanging on by a thread. And other teams can come up and take them out. So that's where it's at, really. But I just everything about this. There's one maybe last chance here. Ooh. Ben White, the guy. Ben White, the guy who's just been given man of the match, has got a red card. Oh, my God. What was he doing? What was he thinking? Very cynical. This is the last chance now. I don't know why he did that. That was unnecessary, really. So unnecessary. He played well, and then he's got sent off. Oh, well. That's not great. Oh, well, there you go. So now Chelsea actually have a chance now. This is it. Chelsea free kick. One man down, Brighton. It's unnecessary to do that. Just crowd the guy out. I don't know what happened. Ooh, easy take. Giroud, that was poor. That was your only chance. And it was so poor. It was a weak shot. Ball came in beautifully as well for him. He just headed it, but he kind of headed it kind of halfway sort of thing. He didn't really do much of it. His game's going to come into an end now. Unfortunately, Giroud came and didn't do what he needed to do. Will Brighton have a chance? Have a dig. Oh, blocked. They're in the goal area. They had a dig. McPoy had a shot. Didn't happen. Full time, I'm afraid. And that's it. Game over. 0-0. Poor. Ben White got a red card at the end. Oh, my God. Which he didn't need to really do. He just crowded the guy out, and it finished 0-0. And that's it. Done. Finished. Over. Well, let's have a look at the stats. Let's have a look at the stats. So let's have a look at the final stats on this game. I mean, look, Brighton will be happy with that. 7 shots by Chelsea, 4 on target. 11 shots Brighton, 2 on target. Possession mainly with Chelsea the whole game. Chelsea will be annoyed, really annoyed by what they've done. And Brighton will be happy. 2 shots on target for only having 35%. 737 passes. And you can't score. It's just like, come on. Crazy. So, yeah, that was the situation. Pass accuracy, better with Chelsea, but it was a draw. Fouls, yellow card, see the red card there at the end to Ben White, who's the man of the match. Oh my god, I don't know if that can change it now. So yeah, that was the game. Very tepid game at times. There's only probably like 5 to 10 minutes of quality. Let me know what you think of the game. I think it was a really, really poor game. And I know, obviously, at the moment, people may the game was dull. Yeah, the game was really, really poor. So I know people may have been distracted by, obviously, the George Floyd verdict, which was guilty. But sticking with the football, come on, let us know your thoughts about the situation here with Chelsea. Chelsea, poor. Brighton, poor. Tepid, 0-0. And here's Steve back.
That wasn't the most exciting game in the world. It felt a bit half-paced, Mac. It felt a bit half-paced. Yeah. We were very slow moving the ball, very, very slow moving the ball. Players seemed slow. It was one of those games where I think for both sides, somebody would play a nice little quick pass and it would bounce off for the opposition's player's heel and then roll away and the opposition would get the ball, or somebody would try to play it and it would just be intercepted or just be slightly too far ahead of someone. Neither team played very well today. I think Chelsea looked, don't know, just not really very. Didn't have a lot of energy today. Didn't move the ball quickly enough. If you don't move the ball quickly enough, you're not going to move a well organised team around enough to create the spaces to give you the opportunities. Brighton hit a post. I mean, they didn't really do very much in the game, to be honest. They there was nothing really in it. I didn't think. They had a bit more of a go towards the end because I guess but I mean, teams that are still in the game do that, don't they? But really, they didn't do a great deal, but they defended very well. So yeah, I think Tuchel will be pretty disappointed with the level of energy in the team. Actually, I think there was a couple of players that were brought in. Probably had an opportunity. Again, Ziyech and Havertz really were quite anonymous in the first half. They didn't really get involved in the game. I think little things weren't coming off for them, and it kind of just sort of, I don't know, dampen their spirits somewhat in that game. It's a hard game to say much more about because there wasn't really too many incidents of controversy. White deserved his red card for 2 yellow cards. I thought
man of the match as well.
Yeah, I mean that was a tough one to pick man of the match because it wasn't that kind of game where anyone really stood out like that. Giroud had a couple of opportunities towards the end of the game. So London has said Brighton moral win. Yeah, to some extent they've come away to one of the teams that are, looking for Champions League qualification. Then they'll be more pleased with that than Chelsea will be. They'll definitely see that as a point gained, and Chelsea will see that as a couple of points squandered, I think, which is a shame because we've squandered a few points now, and we could have been very, very comfortably in the top 4 by now. I think we would have gone third if we'd won the game. So
you're top four.
Yeah, we are, but
let's just clear that up. So let's look at the situation. I don't know if you can even see this, but Chelsea, you're on 55 points. Like I said, you could have obviously jumped to third, but you played 32 games. So at the moment, the only people who you can get caught up, obviously, if you lose a game. But the teams below you are on 32 games as well. So your place in 4th place is assured. If it finished today, you'll be sorted. So it's not the end of the world.
No, big game of the weekend. Big game of the weekend against West Ham. If we win that, then that makes a big difference. But today was the opportunity to turn that game into a 5-point cushion over West Ham if we'd won them both, and so that's the real opportunity lost, I think, today. So shame, but never. Well, we won't. We just lacked a bit of zip and a bit of and just a bit of pace today. Maybe with some of the events of the week and maybe after the 2 very big games that the players have just played, it was a tricky one for them to to get
Yeah.
up for today, which is you don't like to see, but they are humans, and it has been a very grueling season. Playing every 3 days.
It's like two seasons in one, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, because there was very little gap between this season and last season either. So it's been very, very difficult to keep going, I guess. And you make some rotations, and Mount playing deeper in midfield. I mean, he didn't have his most prominent game. I mean, he worked very hard as he always does, but he wasn't really able to influence the game as much as he normally is. I think towards the end of the game with the substitutions, it looked like we moved to more of a back four with Reece James moving to left back and Anders Christensen to right back. But we seemed to slightly lose our shape in midfield, I thought, at that point. And Jorginho was dropping quite deep to get the ball off the centre backs, and I think Mount was trying to join the attack. So there were a few occasions where we lost possession, and instead of being in a good place to either press the ball or to collapse back into shape, there was just a big gap between the attack and the midfield, and we became a bit disjointed, I thought. So yeah, a bit of not a great performance. Hopefully Tuchel, the best thing you can say is that Tuchel might have learned some things out of the game, and we hopefully it's not for a Chelsea perspective, it's not a mortal blow in the race for top four, certainly, but it was an advantage that we didn't take. Brighton.
Let's look at the team.
Yeah, Brighton. I was going to say Brighton. I thought looked like a decent side. I mean, they look like they're a little bit of variance away from being top 7, top 8 type team. Having the sort of season that usually somebody has. West Ham having it this season. Southampton have done it in the past. Somebody has that season. Sheffield United last season, where they're around and about the top 6 for quite a long time in the season, and Brighton could do that. I mean, they've got decent players in good positions. They're well organised. They're probably, Maupay's had a pretty poor run in front of goal, but that kind of variance normally evens itself out over time with strikers. And who's to say he won't go on a run where he overperforms his expected goals next season, and suddenly he looks like a different striker. He's not really doing anything different. He's just putting them away. Yeah. They're going in and not instead of being saved. And then that's the extra goals they need. And suddenly Brighton turn whatever 30 odd 40 points they've got at the moment into 50 odd points at this stage of the season. And everyone's going, wow, what a brilliant season they're having. But they won't really have fundamentally changed very much. So a decent team. I suppose in a day where obviously the focus has been on the Super League, so it just goes to show that the football in the Premier League is competitive. I think it was Havertz that said, one of the things he was surprised about by Christmas was he hadn't come across a poor player in the Premier League. There were no passengers in the Premier League who were out of their depth against a big side. Everybody's a good player. Everybody's everybody's an athlete and a pro and is decent. Although obviously some players are better than others, but there aren't any weak players in the Premier League particularly. They've always got something, and that's what you have to get used to, I think, when you come from other leagues sometimes. So
and the intensity of it, and obviously the height of people. There's no small people in the Premier League. There are, but they're few and far between. Most defenders are big and strong, as Brighton obviously alluded to. And you're gonna struggle if you don't. Even I said through the game, Kai Havertz kept falling over. He needs to get stronger if he's gonna stand the test of time. He's definitely got to get better. I mean, obviously he got taken off, but he kept on falling over with a little push and a shove. You've got to stand your ground. And he's got to find that space, doesn't he? So, it's an interesting one. But okay, well, look, like I said, the situation isn't dire. It's slightly concerned, but it's not dire. You're fourth still. Like I said, the West Ham game is fundamental. Brighton are pretty much safe. They've got 7 points in it. So, look, let's have a final word on the European Super League, the collapse of the European Super League. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, as the game was going on, so Manchester City put out a statement to say they were officially withdrawing from it. You had Liverpool players going onto social media. I think Thiago and Henderson, but it was retweeted and reposted by both Van Dijk and Kabak, which is interesting. Obviously, he's only there online. So the players are starting to flex. I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool follow suit if they're getting pressure from their players. I think some of the Chelsea fan groups have have called for resignations in the Chelsea board. I don't know whether that will happen. Apparently, the word is Bruce Bucker's absolutely no intention of resigning. Who's the is the senior director. So I don't know whether what that's all about. But I think the dominoes are beginning to fall. Actually, I did read as well in the game we'd said beforehand that it was being reported that Atletico Madrid had pulled out, but it's now being reported that they haven't pulled out. So who knows? But I think I think it's doomed, isn't it? I mean, it's doomed. I can't see it now having enough cachet. And as we said at half time, this was the shot. This was the big club shot.
Yeah.
And they didn't take it very well. I was reading some interesting stuff online as well from people that have written about the business of football during the game, because obviously one of the benefits of it not being a terrific game of football was there was time to look at social media, and saying there was a quote from somebody who'd looked at football to said, if what runs through the oil industry is oil, what runs through the football industry is stupidity. And actually, there are somebody, and another quote from somebody who done business with football clubs saying, I don't mind doing business with crooks, and I don't mind doing business with idiots, but what I can't stand is doing business with idiots who think they're crooks. And that was so I think there's and Martin Yole, I saw a quote from Martin Yole that said that people I can't remember what the exact quote was, but basically making the point that people would be surprised that behind the scenes of a football club it's still quite it's still not as sophisticated and as businesslike perhaps as you might expect. And although these people are obviously very serious investors and serious businessmen, and maybe perhaps there's an element of that has come through too, and that they didn't really have they certainly didn't handle the PR side of things very well. No. I was expecting there to be more on offer over the coming days, more maybe invitations to other clubs, maybe more an unveiling of how are these 5 teams going to get in, and moving the story on and giving people things to be excited about. But they didn't really seem to have anything lined up. I think they didn't really think it through. As somebody said, they didn't really have a league. They didn't have a media plan. They didn't have an idea of how they were going to get 5 teams. What they had was a big pile of money and a load of interest payments. And that was as liabilities, and that was all they had. And so therefore, maybe it's no great surprise that it's imploded so quickly. So, but fan power is an interesting thing. And there are a number of football clubs, smaller clubs usually, that have been saved by their fans coming together and buying the club and saving them. Northampton Town, very famously, Exeter City, Luton Town. Lots of these clubs have done that. Celtic, I think, have got a fans group that's involved in the club. Obviously not in an ownership role, but they certainly have an involvement. It just goes to show. And I think that the realization came. Lots of clubs used to rattle the buckets and get fans to chip in to quote save the club, and the money, and the money would go to the club, and they would go, great, we're saved. But the fans, particularly at Northampton, got together. A wonderful man called Brian Lomax, who said, well, look, hang on, let us get the money collectively, and then we can save the club, and then we can have a say in how the club is run, and we can actually take control. And there's an organisation called Supporters Direct, which has been involved in many clubs and many fan groups saving their clubs and investing in their clubs. I think Andy Burnham, who's the mayor of Manchester now. I think he was involved professionally with Supporters Direct in its early days, and a great supporter. So I think there is an organisation there that can help fan groups to organise, but I think they've generally had more success with smaller clubs. I guess because the amount of money required to save the club or to buy into the club is probably more within the reach of what fans can collectively raise. But there's definitely, and as you said, Germany, the Socios model with Barcelona, there are models where fans can have a modicum or an element or a sense of control over their clubs, and maybe this is a punctuation mark in that, and maybe it is something that can begin to come back on the table at a higher level. Maybe the FA and UEFA will look at this and go, actually, It's the fans. It's not JP Morgan we need to worry about. It's the fan groups organising and demanding change, and we need to maybe meet them halfway. Who knows? Maybe that's wishful thinking, but it's Carragher and Neville celebrating.
These two legends of football, Man United and Liverpool legends, celebrating the situation that's happened. So I'll just leave you that comment. But yeah, you're right. I think you're right that you think about Arsene Wenger. He was always about sustainable football, and he is now, in effect, the right-hand man in FIFA. UEFA obviously work closely with them. I'm sure that there'll be a clarity, and I think that'll probably be the direction of travel, where there's less of this kind of madness going on and more control given to supporters. It'll take some time, but when that's going to happen, and it may happen in slow time. But I think the main thing now is, let's look at this Champions League. We've talked earlier about the three tiers now, isn't it? Champions League, Europa League, Europa Conference League now. So they need to get those sorts. I know they've expanded the Champions League and all the rest of it now. So there's a lot of unraveling and unpicking before next season, which is obviously going to start pretty soon. Obviously, they've got the Euros and stuff. So it's going to be crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, the Champions League changes they've made. I mean, it's a kind of, what is it? You call it the Swiss model, is it? Where everyone's in one league, but not everybody plays each other, and it's seeded. It might take a bit of getting used to, because it doesn't. It's not a model that we're certainly used to in English football and in English sport at all. And so I'm a bit like, I'm not sure if that's going to be an effective method, but I guess it works for the Swiss. So who knows? But it's. I think it is a way of organising a tournament where you have a lot of teams or a lot of participants, and so that everybody plays in a way which is fairly balanced. So I think it's the kind of thing that you have in squash clubs as well, and that sort of stuff as well, to make sure that people play and play against and have matches that are a good matchup and so on and so forth. So yeah, who knows? It'd be an interesting model. I think the one thing that will be interesting to see if it survives, because remember, in the new Champions League model, they announced the 2 places reserved for teams with a high coefficient who hadn't been able to qualify through their leagues.
Yeah.
I'm wondering now what the appetite will be in UEFA for continuing to offer that. Yeah. Because that really was a bone thrown to the dirty dozen, and
I like that.
Yeah, and that was very much that, if somebody has a bad season, then if they've got the coefficient, then they'll get in anyway, and what have you. And Ajax as well would be another team, I think, who sometimes, obviously, because the Dutch only have very Champions League qualification. I'm not sure if they have 1 or 2, but obviously Ajax can finish out some places and So, but again, maybe now UEFA will rethink that and think, well, actually, you know what we're going to take that away. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see what happens, and I like that. I think I might do an episode with whoever's available tomorrow on what next for the Dirty Dozen. I like that. We'll see how it all goes. So thank you for that. That's a good one, Steve. Appreciate that. But I think we'll finish on that, and that's fantastic. Thank you for your contribution, Steve. It's been amazing, and thank you for all of the interactions from everybody. It's been amazing. There's been obviously some people in particular. Lonnan and Haddon, and the list goes on. Rebecca, hashtag stuff, Jamie RTX, PC fan. But I have to give a special mention, Coconut Water, to Lads on Tour. You were brilliant today. You had loads of questions and obviously super chat. Well, I appreciate your contribution. So thank you for watching. Chelsea Brighton 0-0, tepid game. But we had loads to talk about, didn't we, Steve, about the European Super League. I talked about Jose Mourinho. It's the collapse within 48 hours, even maybe a little bit more, of this silly project, really, let's be honest. But it was a silly project, really, by people with lots of money and not much knowledge of football. So we'll see what happens next. Chelsea are 4th. And Brighton, I think, are 16th. So both teams don't have to worry about anything. Let's have a little look. And so they've got no problems at all. Brighton avoid relegation. Chelsea on Champions League position. So no issues at all there. And we'll see what happens. We'll be back. Well, maybe I'll do an episode tomorrow, but we'll definitely be back. I just want to mention on Thursday, because we'll be doing cricket, me and Steve and Tony. So if you like cricket, you want to find out about cricket, if you don't know anything about cricket, it's probably the best show to watch, because we talk about, obviously, the IPL, short form of the game, and all the other cricket news that's going on at the moment. There's county cricket and everything like that. And Steve very much leads that as he's a man who's a connoisseur of cricket. And he has been from, his whole life, right? So you know everything there is to know about cricket with Tony. So yeah, if you want to come join us, we're here at 8 p.m. GMT time on Thursday for another live show, and then we'll be live again next Monday for the game that goes on then. And who is it? It is Leicester versus Crystal Palace at 8 o'clock. So yeah, that should be an entertaining game. Crystal Palace always unpredictable and entertaining, and Leicester City, well, they're buoyed, obviously, their win over Southampton for the FA Cup. Let's see what happens there, so it should be good. But thanks for watching. Tell your friends about the channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're still here. And yeah, we'll see you the next time. Thank you so much, and we'll sign out there. Thank you very much.